Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another rip-snorting, gut-busting, side-splitting episode of Monster Party.
Monster Party! Monster Party!
Yes!
Side ripping. My
Side ripping.
Yeah,
yes.
I think I've ripped the side of my pants.
Ripped
here.
your side.
I did.
We're having a great time.
I've got my cocktail.
We're drinking.
Ready to go.
We got all of us here.
That's right,
including me.
Yes, and who are you, sir?
I am Matt Weinhold.
I am Shawn Sheridan.
I'm Larry Stroth.
And I'm James Gonis.
And boy, what a great topic.
This is an interesting topic.
Finally,
I like this.
Yeah.
We finally figured out exactly what we were going to call it like 2 seconds before we went on the air. But this is what it is. Let's just get right to it.
Yeah,
How about
please.
this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Horror and sci-fi casting.
Horror and sci-fi casting.
You know, I mean, God, you go to these movies and you see these actors on the screen, or you see a TV show that you like, and sometimes you're pulled out of it, and
Yeah.
a lot of times it's because of the casting.
Casting
Or
is
brought
so,
into it because of the casting.
Casting
Right.
is so important. I mean, studios pay millions of dollars to make sure they get the casting right to make you, the listener, go and see that movie or watch that TV show.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we have, boy, did we get lucky.
Yeah.
Finally, we got lucky.
Yeah.
With
You worked your magic.
I worked, I did a lot of wrangling and
Being in the Hollywood capital here.
A lot of handwritten notes were exchanged under doors.
You had your own casting couch session.
I
to
did.
get this going.
We brought in a lot of casting agents and had our own sort of meta casting session.
Matt,
It got very dirty, as it should.
Who is our guest?
This is a casting director of some of your favorite shows. How about this? That 70s show.
Yes.
We all love
Yeah,
that
cool.
show.
Sure.
Well,
Anger Management.
Hey.
Great show. No? You didn't do that one?
No, I did it.
Okay. Don't fuck with my head. The Middle? It's on right now.
Yeah.
That's a show that's on right now.
right.
Ladies and gentlemen, the famous G. Charles Wright.
G. Charles Wright! G.
Welcome.
Charles.
Welcome, G.
Thank you.
Welcome, G.
I was looking at my watch because it almost was just on now.
Wow.
Really?
While we were talking before, it was.
So
actually
we could have almost done a simulcast.
on. Yeah.
That would have been fun.
I can't believe I wasn't live tweeting it.
Wow.
There's still time.
My 10 followers on Twitter, desperate to know my thoughts.
I'm sure you have more than that. Do you go by G or like
G. Charles.
Hip
How do
G or
Everybody just calls me G. Most
G?
of the time.
That's how I know you.
Mr. G?
All right.
And we've known each other for, God, more than 10 years, right?
You and I have known each other longer than I have been in casting, I think.
I think you were in casting when I first met you.
Oh, that makes me feel better because I've been casting for about 18 years.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I didn't know you that long. Yeah. But
How'd you get into casting?
yeah. How this crazy business called casting.
I got into it by accident, which is how I think a lot of casting directors get into casting. It has seemed to me
Molestation?
It has seemed to me to be an accidental profession. A little less so now. It's becoming more noticeable. But I got into it by accident. I had a friend. Her name was Cecily Adams. Her dad was Don Adams.
Don Adams.
Nice, yeah.
Right, right.
Get smart.
Get Smart. And Tennessee Tuxedo and Inspector
Tennessee.
Gadget.
Oh, we know Tennessee Tuxedo.
One of my favorites.
Chumley.
Yeah, right. So Cecily and I were actors at the Acme Comedy Theater, which used to be a thing in L.A.
Kind of like the alternate, like Groundlings kind of thing.
Exactly. The poor man's Groundlings.
Yeah.
And we were in classes and stuff over there together, and then I discovered she was also a casting director. She and I had become friends. She taught class to actors on how to audition better, audition technique class. And I started taking that class with her, started administrating the class with her, did that for like 3 years. In the meantime, I was an aspiring actor and I had software jobs. I worked for a video game company in the early to mid 90s, and then I worked for like a contact manager.
What did you do?
Platform. Oh, I was like started in, I kind of moved around at a company called Virgin Interactive Entertainment, which had been called Virgin Games. And I started, a friend of mine was their editorial manager, which means she wrote all of their box copy, all of their manuals. She wrote everything for the games. She was a fan of my writing. I used to write short stories and stuff like this. And she was going to take a 3-month sabbatical, go travel the world. She asked me, this was in 1994, she asked me to, if I would fill in as the editorial manager at Virgin Interactive Entertainment while she was away.
Nice.
That's how stupid early it still was in, I guess, in video games that you could do that.
Wow.
That a person could do that, I guess.
You inspire confidence.
I didn't even play video games. So anyway, so I go and I worked for 3 months, and what I discovered was the real reason she had me take over for her is because the guy who worked under her was gunning for her job. So she really wanted somebody in place to keep an eye on her chair, because it was he was gunning for her post. Anyway, so when she came back, she got her job back, and then I'd made enough friends there that I just stayed, and I moved around. I worked in the sales department, and I worked in marketing a little, and then I did some game. There was a 1-800, no, not 1-800, that's toll-free, 900 line, hint lines for video games, and they had me testing games to find hints that I could put in it and stuff like that.
Wow.
It was just I just kind of moved around to all these different jobs in about a span of maybe close to 4 years, 3.5, 4 years. And then I went and worked in that was in Irvine. Then I worked in the Palisades for a company called Goldmine.
Palisades. Oh, fancy.
Palisades.
Yeah.
It's very fancy. You know where what's it? Sunset Boulevard and Pacific Coast Highway meet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? What's that? Gladstone's?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So across from Gladstone's, there's gas station. Up above the gas station, there's like an office.
Is there?
Building? The little
Right.
office building.
Okay.
Yeah. That's where we were.
No
we had
way.
This great view of the ocean.
Oh my God.
Beautiful. It was one of those companies that had been started by a couple of guys in an apartment, and then it had grown to that. So I ended up going over and working for them for a few years, and that company got sold, and it triggered a little stock plan that I was in that was not a lot of money, but it was enough money for me to kind of reevaluate the choices I had been making in my life.
Yeah.
Do tell.
Yeah.
I had these great jobs, but they were not great jobs for me.
Right.
The hardest part of my jobs were getting up and going to them every day.
Right.
So anyway, so I
mean,
took,
working.
Yes, I do mean working.
Hey, I understand.
It's a sucker's bet. So I took the payout. I left, and I went to work with Cecily in her casting office as an intern. And I thought I might be able to use that as a way to become a TV writer,
Okay.
or basically a writer's assistant, and then try to work my way up. So I started interning in her casting office, and a lot of actors back then would intern in casting offices, and you'd go in maybe once or twice a week for a few hours.
Do you make a few bucks, or is it free?
No, it was free.
Okay.
But it was for actors. It was a great way to just sort of demystify a casting office for you, because you don't get into them that often, and you get really nervous when you go. And
Yes, there's a scary element, and it's funny because every time that I've ever been in a casting situation, like 99% of the time, it's perfectly nice.
Yeah,
Everybody's nice and friendly and wants the best out of you, but there's that intimidation thing, and so it must be interesting to see it from the other side.
Oh, it was great. It was life-changing. And most of the other actors that were there, they would show up maybe once or twice a week for a few hours. I didn't have a job, and at that time, I didn't need a job. I was okay for a few months, so I just kind of show up every day. They tell me to get there at 2 in the afternoon and stay until
2 in the afternoon.
2 in the afternoon. And so
What the heck? What?
Well, I thought that was a strange time to show up.
Yes.
But they would do a lot of their auditions would be after 2, between like 2 and 5.
Okay.
So that was I guess the reason. But then I come to discover they had you there at 2 because they broke for lunch at 1, and then they came back at 2. And somebody let slip that there was free lunch. Which I didn't know. We were working for Carsey Werner Mandebach Productions, and doing Third Rock from the Sun, and that 70s show. And,
Science fiction fans.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
So Carsey Werner had this great employee kitchen, and they had free lunch. So I started showing up at since lunch was at 1, I'd start showing up at noon and put in an hour. I was also the only one of these actor interns that had real life office experience. Mm-hmm. So I could do things like answer a phone Very simple. What we think of as
Wow.
very simple tasks
I
in an
couldn't do it.
office.
Man.
I could do.
I could
Sounds
do.
like anyone could do what you
I
do.
would answer.
would think,
no,
but
you
a
answer
lot
a
of-
phone for an office. It's a
A
different
lot of
thing.
these actors were afraid to answer the phone.
Oh, they were actors, for God's sake. Come on.
Well, they were
No?
really they're there to really just kind of check out the audition process. That's what their goal was, always just to try to get in the room and watch some auditions. And anyway, so I'd show up at 12, and then I'd go eat free lunch at 1. And so after a couple weeks of eating, free lunch and get to know the kitchen staff, and one of the guys in the kitchen asked me, "How come I never see you here at breakfast?"
There's a free breakfast?
So this is when I learned that there's free breakfast. So then I start coming in the mornings.
Oh.
And then I eat free breakfast. And then
What time's breakfast?
They start serving breakfast anywhere from like 7 to 8 in the morning.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
see,
see it.
see,
Okay,
now,
yeah,
I'm,
okay,
that's
now
where I'm
you-
out.
you lost
that's where
him.
our,
You lost him.
Yeah, it's like
I'd be there.
when a hotel offers you the free breakfast.
Yeah, the
it's
free
like
buffet.
it's between
The free
7
buffet.
and 8.
Yeah.
And you go,
Or
I'll
8.
just sleep.
I mean, no, but you
I'll dream of food.
You could still get food at 9.
Whoa!
But you have to understand. But I was a guy who had quit my job. Like I had no income coming in. So I was like, I'm going to go get some of this free breakfast.
Oh, that makes sense.
And I was also really trying to. I was trying to make something happen. I was hustling. I was on the hustle.
Did you bring like a little bag or something? You put a few extra scrambled eggs or a piece of bacon in there to take home? Or...
On Fridays, because that way,
Fridays.
that way you had food over the weekend. Well,
That's true.
Fruit Loop Friday.
well, so now I'm doing breakfast. Now I'm doing lunch, and then one day at lunch, the kitchen guy says to me, "Don't miss dinner tonight."
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding. He said, "Don't miss dinner tonight." And I'm like, "There's dinner?" So then it turns out there was dinner.
Okay, what was for dinner? That's what I want to
I
know.
don't remember what it was, but he was real excited about it.
Okay.
And
Wow.
So then I I would stay and eat. all
Did
my
this
meals
finally
there.
lead to, you know what? You don't want to miss what I cook at my apartment.
I'm gonna miss midnight cocktails.
Or I thought you say, so you do work here, right? I thought that was going to happen.
It did dawn on me that it seemed real easy to get in on this free food.
Gosh.
Anyway, so that happened.
This went on for years, I take it?
No, this was really only a matter of maybe 4 months or something. But what happened during that time, though, is I really discovered that I loved casting. And it seemed to pull on all of my strengths. And it felt like a job that I had been preparing for my entire life and didn't know it. Like everything I had ever done had led me to this job. And really, it was my acting background, my sales background, my ability to run an office, to communicate with people, just everything that I had kind of, and my love of television, so knowing actors. Anyway, so I stayed with casting, and Cecily and I ended up leaving. This was, we worked for a casting company. We left at the end of that season and went out on our own. And we took that 70s show with us, and the rest is kind of history.
Now that's
that's pretty
that's amazing when you talk about all the talents that it takes to be a casting director, because it's so crucial. Like I put it right up there alongside writing, because you can write whatever you want. You get an actor who can't
Yeah.
say the lines or can't do them in a way or do justice to the character, it's going to be a failure.
Yeah.
Sure,
And
sure.
so now I'm just curious, now what are the things that you brought to being a casting director? What are those tools that you feel are most important when it comes to casting something?
I would say the biggest thing is having good taste in actors, or good taste really in performance, knowing a good audition from a bad audition. And that changes depending on what type of show you're casting.
Okay.
But having good taste. And the taste, I feel like you either have that or you don't, and then you are able to, the more you work in casting, you're able to refine that taste.
Have you ever had a situation where someone has been great auditioning?
Yeah.
And then
sucked on the
On
set.
set, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a couple times. A few times. Well, there are, as it turns out, actors who are mediocre actors, but great auditioners.
Okay.
And those mediocre actors will book more jobs over great actors who are lousy auditioners.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And there were a couple of times when I was doing that 70s show where we hired people who were great at their auditions. And when you audition, you jump through a few hoops. It's not like you just come in and read.
Usually like 3 tiers or something.
Yeah,
Usually 2 or
sometimes.
3.
So depending on the size of the role, 2 or 3 hoops. And there were a few times where people just couldn't keep it together over the days of rehearsing on set, and we'd have to scramble to replace them.
Wow.
Yeah, happened a couple times.
Well, I mean, Mr. G, what you're saying though is like people come to audition. It's you're assuming that it's a bunch of like unknown actors coming in. I mean, isn't most of casting today, isn't it, people who are somewhat established? And I always kind of like was questioning the casting process. I'd like to know how much of it is really it's these relationships. It's like or it's like a studio will say, we need a big name and or we need someone who's recognizable, And so it's not like a casting process. It's like, oh, we're going to get Kristen Stewart from this movie, and then we'll put Gene Hackman, and because he's really good. It's kind of like.
And then their assumption is that because people have gone to see Kristen Stewart in a certain number of movies,
yes,
and Gene Hackman, and
you've got that young crowd, and
right.
hey, the old crowd will go with Gene Hackman.
Right.
So hey,
yeah. And I think that does come into play a lot of the times. The thing about casting is there's different levels of it. So, like, I cast a show now called The Middle, and I cast the pilot of it, and we're at the end of our 8th season. I'm coming to the end of our 8th season and casting it.
Wow,
and we'll be back
seasons.
for a 9th season. But the way I cast that show is different from when I was casting the pilot. When you're casting the series regulars, sometimes more of that goes into it. The Middle, which stars Patricia Heaton and Neil Flynn. Patricia Heaton was the wife on Everybody Loves Raymond. Neil Flynn was the janitor on Scrubs. Yeah. I always say this stuff because, of course, even though this show is coming up on 8 years, whenever I tell anyone I know that I cast The Middle, they always say, "Oh, Malcolm in the Middle?"
Right.
To which I say, Malcolm in the Middle has not been on the air for 15 years.
but it's a good show. That is a good show.
And there was a whole Breaking Bad happened.
Yeah.
Yes.
After that show, right?
Yeah.
It's been off for a very long time. But people remember that show because it was from a time when there were only 4 networks.
Right.
So even if you did not watch Malcolm in the Middle, you were still aware
you knew
that
of it.
show.
So the fact that it was a good show means nothing to you. It's only because
That's what he's saying.
That's
okay.
what I'm saying. Well, because when we were kids, there were of course 3 networks,
Yeah,
and then there
there's
was.
so much more of everything.
What about PBS?
And then there were 4.
What about
networks.
Zoom?
I know. Don't listen to him. I know what you were saying.
So,
okay, 3
so
networks.
you would, even if there was a show that you didn't watch, you were still familiar
Sure.
with the show. But now, like our show, we've done 200 episodes of this show, and most people in town like, I don't even what.
There's so
This is
much
a show?
though. I mean, it's not, and now with Netflix and Amazon
Right. Well,
Prime and Hulu,
that's the
it's
reason.
like-
It's
right. It's the new normal.
And
TV
podcasts.
is now a niche market.
yeah.
But anyway, when I digress, when we were casting the pilot of The Middle with Patricia Heaton, the writers of The Middle had already done a Middle pilot about a year and a half prior
Really?
that had a completely different cast.
No.
It starred Ricky Lake.
No way.
Wow.
So it was.
Oh my God.
They had cast the pilot. With Ricky Lake ended up being the star of it.
Yeah.
It was very hauntingly similar to The Middle.
Well, she has a following.
Yeah, so they did the show, and I guess for whatever reason they decided they didn't want to. ABC decided they did not want to air it. Right about that same time, though, Patty Heaton, who had, of course, come off of Raymond, after Raymond, she had a short-lived show on Fox called Back to You with Kelsey Grammer.
Right. Yes.
It didn't last very long.
No, I don't.
And so that show gets canceled, and now Patty Heaton is back on the market. And ABC says to Warner Brothers, which is the studio that makes The Middle, said, if you can attach Patty Heaton to The Middle, we'll give it another try. So in that case, the studio and the network agreed that Patty Heaton was a big name. She could get people to tune into the show. So give it another shot. So when you replace Ricky Lake with Patty Heaton, you have to replace the husband.
Right.
A year and a half had gone by, so the kids that they had cast were now too old.
Right.
Except the one who plays Brick, who's Atticus Schaefer is his name. He's in both pilots.
Really?
Wow.
He's 18.
Talk about the luckiest guy
he's
ever.
18. Yeah, he's 18 now, and he's like some kind of Benjamin Button because he's still looks
Sure.
Interesting.
I think
he black?
He's yes, he is. He's 18 years old. I think he playing 14 now, 15. So I don't know. That's
great.
actually a running joke on the show is that the parents never even know what his age is. I think he's 15.
He's got a painting in the attic.
Right. But he still looked really young, so he stayed, and then I cast new husband, and then new oldest son and daughter. And then all the other, I mean, everything else.
So when it comes to casting Patricia Heaton, were you the one who reached out to her to talk? Okay.
No, when I got the job,
She was
Patty
already
Heaton was already in.
Yeah, already in. Okay.
So then it was my job to build a family around Patty
Got
Heaton.
it. Okay.
Yeah, so that's what I did. So that in that way, and that happens a lot with the pilot, TV pilot. When I did anger management, that was Charlie Sheen was already attached to that. Of
Right,
course,
right.
that show was made because of Charlie Sheen.
Right.
So then I came in to cast.
We're trying to get him on the show too.
Oh, are you really?
Oh,
Yeah.
no,
that'd
we
be
will.
fascinating.
We will.
Yeah.
It's a done deal.
It's a done. Do you hear that, G? It's a done deal.
It's a done deal.
Done deal.
I would not be surprised.
Yeah,
if
yeah,
he
yeah.
showed
I'd
up.
love to have
But,
him.
yeah,
I've heard
yeah,
nothing
yeah.
but great things about him,
And he loves the movie Jaws.
and he loves Jaws.
So we figured we can talk to him about that.
I'd never met him, and you hear all the horror stories. And then he came in. He was a very active part of casting for anger management. He was there a lot. The thing that I learned about him is that I think he's got a photographic memory. He's a complete genius. He's a crazy genius. Photographic memory. He can talk to you for hours about any number of subjects. Wow. He's really a fascinating guy.
Yeah.
But anyway, I came into that show to build a family around him, and then all these people. So that level of casting does exist, where the studio networks say, "Let's get somebody that everyone likes and put them on a show." But then the rest of it is auditioning actors.
Yeah.
Well, and then if we get back to that 70s show, now there's a show where I can't really think of anybody who was a huge star.
Yeah.
So you were like
When it
pretty much
started, yeah.
starting from scratch with a lot of unknowns.
Well, I didn't
And built a lot of those careers, right?
I did not cast. Well, no, because I did not cast the pilot from that 70s show. Debbie Romano, who ended up casting Scrubs,
Okay.
and with her partner Brett Benner, and they also cast the first middle pilot. She had cast the pilot for that 70s show, and it was all unknowns. Kurtwood Smith was a known character actor, but he was he was a guy that you knew his face.
Sure, you knew his
but you
face.
wouldn't
Sure,
know his
yeah,
name.
yeah.
Tanya Roberts.
Tanya
Roberts.
Tanya Roberts was sort of their nod to the 70s
Sure,
on
sure.
the show, right?
Worked really well.
And Deborah Jo Rupp, of course, was another
Yes.
famous face that you would recognize. But all the kids were Topher Grace was found at the co-creator's daughter's high school.
Wow.
Wow.
Bonnie and Terry Turner, who co-created the show with Mark Brazil, their daughter went to school back east, and they would see Topher in high school plays. And that's how they found him. So he went from high school theater to being the star of that 70s show.
Can I say something about him too, which is that because I really loved that show, and I really loved everyone in the cast. I thought everyone was great.
Yeah.
But I have a particular love for Topher Grace.
Yeah.
The comedic chops on that guy. And it was interesting because, years later, he was in Spider-Man 3, and this is, sci-fi horror podcast. When we were talking about like dream casting,
Yeah.
if I had my druthers,
He'd be Peter Parker.
Peter Parker.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he would be great
Absolutely.
Peter Parker. actually.
Perfect. Because the one thing they never got with Peter Parker in any of those films, until maybe now, I feel like there's room to grow with this new Peter Parker.
Tom Holland.
Tom
Tom
Holland, yeah.
Holland's great,
Is the humor element.
Yeah. Well, my beef with superhero casting, they always try to cast, like you were saying, they try to cast somebody that they think audiences will want to go see.
Okay.
And they never but you're not casting the superhero. You're casting his alter ego.
Yes.
I
know,
feel
it's
the same
true.
way about Batman.
Well,
and
it's funny you should bring that up
and
because I actually
Spider-Man.
I wanted to ask you, Mr. G, because because one of the things that has really bugged me, especially about the world
him
of
fancy.
superheroes later, is I don't know if I started to write down a list of some of the worst sci-fi horror actors, but then I thought, wait a minute, it maybe not have been so much them, but the script was so bad.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example.
Okay.
I know everyone jumps on this guy, and maybe I'm going out on a limb here.
Okay, go for it.
But I actually wrote this down in 1997. and bear with me here. George Clooney, who was in Batman and Robin. Everyone said, "Oh, George Clooney's the worst." You know what? Joel Schumacher. This was like the third Batman one that he had done.
Unfortunately,
he was yes. And at this time, I'm wondering if either he didn't care. I don't know. I don't know if he didn't care or they didn't. And the script wasn't that great. But it's like if you look at who is in this movie. You know, it
sounds like what you're describing.
It's like George Clooney. You got Arnold Schwarzenegger, Chris O'Donnell, Alicia Silverstone, Uma Thurman. I mean, that cast is like, oh my god, that's like a dream cast.
But the movie they were in was bad. It was,
It's
I think
Sean.
Clooney I think Clooney in the right film could have made a fine Batman.
Look, I like George Clooney. I like a bunch of the stuff he's done, and I think, gosh, you know, in a different script, if a different director, if there was a different circumstance, I think he could have been great.
Well, then, are you ready to open the phone lines? Because here's what I'm about to say.
Go for it.
When I watch movies, I look at them from a casting perspective. My favorite Batman actor is George Clooney. Because of it's not my favorite movie,
right?
But because of that, because to me, George Clooney is Bruce Wayne.
Yeah,
Yes.
Because the guy in the Batman suit, 95% of the time, not even that actor.
Right.
It's the stunt guy or one of the stunt guys. So, and to me, he's the best of the Bruce Waynes. And it was it's sad to me that he wasn't.
It's like look, I'm putting him aside. Look, I know where you're saying. Look, no, I know where you're going. I know where you're going. Put him aside.
Wow.
Listen. No. There's the Christian
Get it
Bale. The Christopher Nolan, you know, there's that Batman. I'm thinking like the more of the comic book when you go like the Tim Burton. That
I'm going to kind of agree with you,
and I feel it's like painful to watch.
I don't like Christian Bale.
Look,
again. Open the phone lines.
Wait a minute.
I don't like Christian Bale as Batman.
but here you go. Now,
Well, I do like him as Batman. I don't like him as Bruce Wayne.
See, here's my thing with George Clooney is that given the right script, George Clooney is a great actor.
Yeah.
Oh, this is not a good movie.
And all you need to do is give him that subtextual stuff about, hey, my parents were killed in front of me. He can play that. He can do that.
Right. Yeah, sure.
And that's what that character needs. What's great about those Christian Bale movies is that they bring that back in.
I totally agree.
And hammer it in a realistic way.
Yeah, right.
And that's what I really liked about Christian Bale. I'm also a big Christian Bale fan. I like him. But sometimes I think what happens in casting a movie is that you can get a great actor, but it could be the wrong part.
Yeah.
Like, do you like Christian Bale as an actor?
Oh, of course. He's a great actor. But for me, I always feel like Bruce Wayne gets played too one note. And this is a guy who's supposed to be living his life in sort of a careless fashion because of his childhood. And those are also, I feel like those are the places in an otherwise very dark film, very dark subject matter, for a little levity and to show some kind of arc in a character, as opposed to this is what I sound like when I'm Batman. This is what I sound like when I'm Bruce Wayne. It's all the same.
No, he doesn't do that.
He does.
No, he does not.
Yeah, he does. That's exactly what he does.
Caller, you're on line one.
I like Christian Bale in just about anything, but I got to agree with you. I'm not a fan of even.
What?
And we've had this argument before.
I don't remember this guy.
No, he's always been the anti-Christian Bale.
Yes, no, and it's not his fault. I think it's Christopher Nolan's fault. I think he was made too one note. There are scenes in Batman Begins, which Matt, I know you recently said is like your favorite.
I love it.
Yeah.
That I still have a problem with. Who is this guy? What's he about?
Right.
And it would not carry the entire trilogy for me. I was just lost on
the
it.
trilogy, I will completely agree. The trilogy, it's diminishing returns, and everyone loves The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
And
I
yet,
love it.
And yet, I feel like it starts to especially writing wise. That movie, aside from having the Joker in there, the rest of the movie is kind of badly written.
Well, the Joker,
and then the third one is the worst one ever.
The Joker is the whole reason why everyone likes that movie.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what? I will agree with you. I love the whole Joker stuff, and I guess maybe because I saw the first Christian Bale Batman, I really liked him, and here it was like him and the Joker, and I loved it. You know, Matt, I'm not like as critical as you. I'm not like Mr. Great Writer or anything, but it's like I see. No.
I don't know if you've seen my IMDb page.
Well, look, I think I
IMDb
know.
Pro.
I didn't see it as that, but I can see how definitely the Joker is definitely more prominent than the Scarecrow in the first one, but I guess you have to kind of tell the Batman story.
What I liked about the first one is I feel like that one does have an arc. Batman Begins, you start from his childhood to the Himalayas to
it was so cool.
Gotham City, which
you didn't like that?
Did not work for me. There is one scene that sticks out that I keep remembering from Batman Begins, and Bruce Wayne is suddenly cavorting in his convertible with a couple of hot babes.
Yeah.
And the point of the scene seems to be that he wants to fake out the gangsters, like he's got all this confidence. But I remember leaving the theater and thinking, I really don't know if he was enjoying himself as Bruce Wayne in that moment or if he was really trying to manipulate the villains. And it's a problem that I don't know that. And that same kind of vacuum stayed in the entire trilogy for me. I never really got who he was. I never enjoyed who he was. And it's not Christian Bale's fault.
Right.
Well,
I agree.
Can I throw in another Batman then? Okay, so we've discussed Christian Bale.
We kind of talked about George Clooney.
And George Clooney.
So we think a really good actor, bad script, bad director.
One of my, I would say probably my favorite Batman is the animated Batman, Kevin Conroy. And I would say that when it gets to the characters being true to the source material, animated series all the way through.
Yeah.
Right down to Mark Hamill, the definitive Joker.
Yeah, but these are guys doing voiceovers,
I know.
Matt. It's not a guy acting. It's a different animal
It's a different
here,
type
sir.
of casting. But then now let's go back to the Tim Burton, kind of reimagined
the Michael Keaton,
the whole franchise again. Now that was one where I was upset with. Like to me, Christian Bale was kind of course correcting.
Yeah, right.
Michael Keaton was so miscast.
I agree.
And I love Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I love Michael Keaton. And I was rooting for him. I wanted him to be good.
Me too.
And it's not that he was terrible. He was miscast.
Well, guys, I'm going to say one thing about the way we're talking about Batman. We always talk about, it's the miscast of a big actor, of a celebrity actor. It's Michael Keaton. It's Val Kilmer. It's George Clooney. But to me, what's interesting is that that's where the Batman movies are. But I go back to the first Superman, which cast simply an actor who could embody the character, and not because with every Batman movie coming out, who's going to be Batman this time? What big actor? But that's what made the first Superman so good is that it was this unknown Christopher Reeve who he simply was.
Yes.
Kal-El.
I wrote. It's funny.
It's a very good point.
And that's
a very good point.
A problem I think today too with it's whether it's from Ben Affleck to Michael Keaton or whoever. It's like the whole stunt casting of a big movie star may be the fucking problem.
You come in with expectations.
I agree because you already have. Well, we're all excited about Tom Holland as the new Spider-Man.
Right,
I assume we are all.
Right.
And he's not a big
right.
name.
I thought it was the director of Fright Night. It's like really, he's playing
Tom Holland.
Interesting casting.
But you're right. But he was great in Civil War.
Great in
and but I saw him as Peter Parker, not as Tom Holland. I mean,
That's right.
And that's
why
the key.
it's good.
Yeah.
That's what's going to work.
But it doesn't always work because for me, Henry Cavill,
But Henry Cavill's he's a big star. He's not a huge. He's no Michael Keaton.
but
He wasn't. The problem with Henry Cavill is that he wasn't terrible. He just wasn't great either. He wasn't.
He looks the part, man.
He looks the part. But like
looks
Christopher Reeve,
he embodied it.
There is a sense of innocence.
Yeah.
And purity that he brings to the role, and that's something that is hard to capture. It's
would
lightning
say-
in a bottle.
Yeah.
Well, also the casting goes all the way around. I actually think Henry Cavill's a pretty good cast as Superman, but my issue with his Superman movie is it's a fucking horrible movie. And
Okay, so you're going now. So you're going back to the
else-
script and direct. That's what you're going
and I
towards.
feel like everybody else is miscast. I don't feel like that
in
is
in the first Man of Steel.
You're Man of Steel.
I don't
Yes,
think that's.
yeah.
I don't think.
Zack
I don't
Snyder.
think that's a smartly cast film.
Right.
I also think that.
Except for Michael Shannon.
Oh, Michael Shannon's great, but you're right. He is great.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
But
you're
it's
right,
not.
that's
But it's
the
not a
only one.
well-written movie.
No.
It's not a good film, and it's also. I also find Superman a little boring.
Wow.
We've had this discussion.
Yeah.
boring.
He's a tough character.
He's a
Superman
tough-
is
because-
great.
well, no, because
he's the Man of Steel.
But this is my point.
All right.
Because Superman is so great, it's hard to find a way to make him interesting.
Layered.
Layers.
Layers.
Oh,
Dimensional.
or you're
And-
going to the red. Or you're going to the red briefs, right? That's what you're saying.
No, he's not saying that.
Because there's a lot
Larry,
of
yes, he's not saying that at all. Not
He
even
said-
remotely.
He said layers, didn't he?
no.
not layers like that.
Okay, I have to explain something to
layers
you.
like
G.
long
G,
underwear.
He is the most literal human being on the face of the earth.
You know, look.
He meant that.
I have an issue.
He's got a winter coat.
No, I had an issue too with that. It was hard for me with the whole blue outfit. It's like, like if it was good enough for Christopher Reeve, it could be good enough for Cavill, and all the other Supermans wear the red briefs.
Yeah,
What's
right.
the deal?
What's
It's
the deal?
not. It has nothing to do with the costume.
about red
Well, but I think
Am I
he's
wrong?
great.
Am
But
I wrong?
everything else
You're
about
kind
it-
of wrong
don't they
about
make-
everything you've just said.
Jimmy Olsen is like a double agent, right? Killed off at the beginning. Isn't that the deal? Wasn't that the thing? I
You mean-
vaguely
I-
remember the movie.
There's so much I
Batman
can't-
versus Superman.
Anyway,
Yeah.
oh yeah. And also, my beef with a lot of these the superhero movies is how many times do I have to go and sit through a reboot origin story of these?
Oh, well, there you
superheroes?
go.
Every one.
Right.
Every
Well, that's the
one.
problem with the Spider-Man thing. And that's what's so
Yeah.
great about having this reboot of Peter Parker and Spider-Man.
Yes.
Is that we
Yeah.
all know that story.
But, well,
let's just cut to the chase.
No, it's like
In Civil War,
Yeah,
right.
for
Yes.
Right,
But for
exactly.
Fancy G, so my understanding
Yes.
is so I remember when I remember when Sam Raimi it was announced. Oh, Sam Raimi's going to do the Spider-Man,
Yeah.
and the Spider-Man they got was.
Tobey Maguire.
Tobey Maguire.
yeah.
And I
Who's
remember,
good.
No,
He's
and,
fine.
and I said to Sean, I'm like, oh, Tobey Maguire, oh, that's horrible. And Sean goes, no, Larry, that's perfect. Because if you
not
remember
perfect,
Peter,
but it's-
no, if I remember correctly, Sean said it was perfect.
Okay, Sean did say
Yes,
perfect.
you did. You
I
did.
remember
He
that.
signed
You did.
something.
You chastised
at the time.
me.
Look, at the time,
I have it
thought-
right here in writing.
I think
Yes.
at the time, Tobey Maguire was perfect. I don't know if there was any actor of that generation who.
Topher
Okay,
Grace.
now,
Topher
okay.
Now,
Grace.
hang on, sir. So I'm thinking, oh, okay, I'll check it out, and you know what? I loved it.
I did not
loved
love
it.
it.
It was okay. Just hear me
What
out.
are you talking? Are you talking about the red briefs?
Maybe if you shut
Are
up
you
for a
talking
moment.
about the
and
red briefs?
No, I am
that
not.
Spider-Man
no,
wore?
Spider-Man.
Because why can't he wear those red briefs?
See, now you're being ridiculous. Okay, just hear me out. We saw that film. I really liked the first one, second one, and
third one
but
just-
you see, the
yeah.
funny thing was, so some time. It's like less than 10 years, and then all of a sudden, we're redoing Spider-Man again. And I looked at, remember, Matt, I said to you, wait, they're redoing Spider-Man? They're not
Yeah,
bringing
yeah,
it.
they did,
and,
yeah.
and you go, yeah, they're bringing it back. And it's like these films, they're reimagined for a new group of people, the new young kids.
How many Wolverine origin stories do we have to have?
And here's what's going to happen. So I heard that. Oh, this is the last one that what's his face is doing.
Hugh Jackman?
Yeah, Hugh Jackman. And then
is it?
you give it 3 or 4 years. Then they're going to do a new one. It'll be the
sure.
new young
course.
guy.
Right.
Yeah,
So
but the
so like.
amazing Spider-Man. Let's just take a second and say I think we all know now that the reason that movie was made was because Columbia was going to lose the license if they didn't keep making movies.
Right,
and that's why
right.
they did the Amazing Spider-Man with Garfield.
Right.
That's
And they
pretty
did-
much
and they
the
did a
Why
only-
sequel to that,
not
too.
make a good one though? That's like
Yeah, it's
my
true.
thing.
Well, because it was a franchise and they figure, okay.
And here's the thing with Amazing Spider-Man, which is there's like a couple scenes where Garfield throws in a little humor.
Yeah, that's right.
And I remember thinking like, oh yeah, and then the rest of the movie falls apart.
Yeah.
But at least they're going in the right direction,
Yeah.
and it's
It's baby steps.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And why not read the source material and go, well, this is what the characters like in the comic books.
Right,
People
right.
like the comic books.
Yeah.
What if we did that?
Yeah.
It amazes me how they continually rewrite these things when there are volumes of story and origin story. There's history.
Other
all of this.
characters.
Yeah.
Everything
Right.
is
Yeah.
already there,
Yeah.
and they bring in writers who always just go, "I'm tossing it all out."
Yeah. Oh.
I'm going to
J.J.
reimagine
Abrams,
this.
for example. Hey,
yes.
hey, let's take Star Trek. Yeah, this popular thing. Hey, there's this huge story. We know what's supposed to happen to Kirk. It's popular. No. Let's make this new film. We're gonna change everything.
But you know what? I will say
I did not-
One problem I did not have, and I hated those Star Trek movies for the most part.
You're talking about the newer ones with Chris Pine.
yeah,
and
but one of the problems I did not have was with the casting.
Yeah,
I actually like the casting a lot.
I agree.
I like the casting. I don't like some of the casting.
Who?
In the Star Trek movie.
Kirk?
No. I think Chris Pine is an amazing Captain
Okay,
Kirk.
good.
I think
Okay.
I think he is such a good Captain Kirk
Could be better written. That's my only problem. But it's not his fault.
Yeah,
No, but that is, those shoes are so big to fill.
Yes,
and I don't.
absolutely.
And when I
Yeah.
watch him, I feel like even Shatner enjoys watching Chris Pine.
Yeah.
But what's his name?
Zachary Quinto?
Zachary Quinto.
That Zachary Quinto, I really am not down with.
Is that right?
And I don't
really like
his, I don't
him.
like his Spock. I find him empty, shallow. Spock to me is the most interesting character in Star Trek, and Quinto's performance makes him the least
I
interesting
think it's the writing.
character.
I think it's the writing.
No, I
Interesting.
think it's his. I think it's his.
Is it the relationship
All right.
with Uhura?
He'll raise
that
one
thing?
eyebrow,
Yeah.
and that's I'm supposed to call it a day.
I love
It's-
that.
I think he looks like Spock, and that's about it.
Is there any other actor that comes to mind that might have been a better Spock than?
I just think.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
I don't. That's a great
Dreamcasting.
question.
Oh,
I don't know that
you
I have
don't.
an answer
Oh,
for
so
that.
you lose, sir.
I don't.
You lose.
You lose.
No.
It's like-
I think we all lose.
Zachary,
It's
no,
possible
no.
to lose a podcast.
Zachary Quinto. Zachary
According to
Quinto as
Larry,
Spock
yes.
means we've all lost.
No, see, that is really
Zachary
harsh.
Quinto,
That is harsh.
Zachary Quinto as Spock is so pathetic that they still put Leonard Nimoy as Spock in all of those movies.
You got a good
Oh, no,
point.
okay,
You got a good point.
no.
They don't bring
No.
William Shatner
No.
back from the future.
true.
There's a big
Well,
reason.
he didn't
for
want to
that.
do that,
No,
right?
no, and that's a ridiculous thing. He's a
I like
wonderful.
it.
He's a.
I don't even agree with them, and I like it.
no.
I mean, what if they
I'm
said,
not a fan.
"Oh,
Not a fan.
we're gonna have Ashton Kutcher play that role"?
Oh,
yeah,
remember? 'Cause he's on the
yeah,
show
Yeah,
that
he's
you-
on the he's on '70s show, sir. What do you think about that?
I
that
think
would
that's
be
a great
ridiculous.
idea. I
No,
think it's a
no.
great idea.
See, this is I can
All
see it
right,
now.
all right,
No.
We need some comm space.
Oh, you guys, you shut up.
We need some comm
He's a big
space.
boy. He's a big boy. He's a
I know.
professional. He can hang it.
I'm just calling this from a producing side.
I'm keeping away from the microphone. Oh, so I can't make my point. Is that what it is? Oh, okay.
No, I want you to make your point.
All right, Master G, keep going. Keep going.
Master G.
now.
How long have you been working on that one? Master G.
Okay,
I don't have a good answer, but I don't
Okay.
have a good answer.
This is
for
what I
who
want.
would be better
G
as Spock. I really
pluribus
don't.
unum.
For me, I do feel like maybe the best way to go with Spock would have been to just go somewhere other than trying to make somebody look like Leonard Nimoy, because it's such an iconically performed role that maybe you needed to just bust something out that's different. I don't know. I don't know.
I would say I agree with that because, like, why do we have to regenerate the original crew in the first place? I liked the idea of, like, with the Next Generation and constantly doing new.
Right,
There's a
just get-
million
right.
other ships. Why don't we follow their stories?
Right, a whole other crew.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
like, why do we need to resurrect something that's so iconic?
You know,
it's like imagine if there was a John Wayne character that was famous, and now you're going to go like, they did True Grit. And I've got John Wayne in my head, and it's not like this story was this really great Pulitzer Prize winning.
It was John Wayne.
It's fine.
in
It was
that
John
character.
Wayne doing
Right.
his thing, you
Right,
know?
right,
And
right.
it's like, you might as well at that point make a whole nother Western. Don't
Right.
make True Grit again. Why do you need to do Star Trek again? Why not make a new thing?
Well, you know, it's funny you should say that because I think it was James who brought up the thing about doing a different generation, so using the Star Trek world and going off in different areas, following other characters. I believe that was you that said that.
Did I?
Yes, you did.
Really? I don't remember that at all.
Oh,
But that's a good idea. Yeah, it's a really good
It is a good
Okay,
idea.
but this
Well,
is
I just hate the whole constipated studio mentality of let's just resuscitate something like in the second Star Trek movie. Oh, it has to be Khan. In Man of Steel, it had to be Zod. It's
Right.
like, oh, for God's sake, haven't we learned anything? Come up with some fresh ideas.
Right.
No,
That's true.
the answer is no. We have not.
Right.
okay. This is what I want to know to Super G is how is there a
He's going to go through his
version-
entire list.
I see him crossing
what
them
do you-
off as he goes down.
So you are not
check,
a fan.
master, check.
You are not a fan of Zachary Quinto. What do you
Yeah.
think? Is there a horror science fiction film that you can think of that you felt was the worst casting and then the best casting, in your opinion?
Good question.
In the world of science fiction and in the world of horror, is there?
One that comes to mind, at least.
Well, the thing-
Because I've got one.
Of course you do.
I have one.
And it will be yelled at you in about
I have
3
one
minutes.
and it's pretty. I think it's glaringly obvious, and it has happened twice already.
Okay.
And that's the Fantastic Four. I think it was. I think they were.
yeah.
Wait,
I
all
think
of
they
them?
are. I think those are not only poorly written movies; they're horribly cast, everything about them feels false.
Wow.
I would say
I
with
think
the
they're
lack
so
of,
bad that the old
Corman,
one,
the
Corman,
yeah.
the Corman movie.
I agree.
The one that never saw the light
I
of
do
day.
agree.
is right is to me better.
I totally agree.
Well,
because at least as for as shitty a movie as that of course is, it has character relationships. It is a character driven story.
Because they have no
right.
money to do
Right, exactly. And the rest
right.
of those, I think, are just
No, they're dreadful.
so okay, but the guy played Silver Surfer though.
Well, we
He
love-
was
Oh yeah,
pretty-
you're
Doug-
right.
Doug
The
Jones-
Silver Surfer was terrific.
Doug
You're right.
Jones is always good, but
Silver
like,
Surfer was
But
terrific.
so you didn't
we're
like
talking about the four.
But that
Okay,
movie,
so
but that movie was still a Fantastic Four movie, and the
Yes.
rest of them,
Right.
Still
No.
Okay,
no.
okay, so that's like your worst bit of casting. Would you?
What, can you? What I want to know then is that do you have any just off the top of your head, if you were going to cast a Fantastic Four movie, where would your mind go for, let's say, a Ben Grimm or Johnny Storm is a hard one to cast because he is abrasive, the hothead personality,
Right.
And how do you make that character likable?
That is tough. Well, what's the who's the guy that played him? Who's now Captain America? What's his name? Chris
Evans?
Chris Evans.
Chris
Yeah.
Evans is
Chris
great.
Evans is great.
He's
As
and
Captain
Chris
America.
Yeah,
Evans,
Captain America.
he's
awesome.
a great Johnny Storm too. It's not a good movie. Like you would think Michael Chiklis could have been
Yeah.
a good Ben Grimm.
Yeah.
You would
I would have
think. That's
initially
like you
thought
would
that
think.
as good
If
casting.
someone
He
said,
looks
"Yeah,
like
Michael
him.
Chiklis is going to be," oh, that's great.
Yeah.
But again, is it the actor or is it the script that they were given?
I think it's all. I do think it's the script they're given, but I'm not a big fan of what's that guy's name? Ian Griffith, who plays Reed Richards,
No.
and Jessica
Stale.
Alba.
Oh.
you didn't like Jessica Alba?
No, I don't. I don't.
she's-
I like Jessica.
Oh,
She's very sweet. She's extremely likable. I don't think you can say you don't like Jessica.
I like-
Alba.
I like
She looks
Jessica.
good in her blue Fantastic Four outfit.
And she
Oh,
looks
yeah.
good in her blue Fantastic Four
Yeah.
outfit. She is a wholly likable personality. At the time, I had thought that this is way back. I thought Clooney or Naomi Watts or somebody.
Clooney's for Reed Richards is
Clooney
a
would've
great.
been good,
That's a
actually.
great
Those
one.
were
Yeah.
those were names that I thought were fun. Nobody listens to me. I don't have anything to do with.
Well,
these
you're
movies.
a casting director, you
But
know.
but yeah, as a casting director, I often will sit and watch things and think, God, so and so would be so much better in
Sure.
Right.
you know, that kind of thing. But I remember thinking Naomi Watts would be great.
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
Sue Storm.
You need
been,
the
actually.
problem with Jessica Alba as Sue Storm is that she's also a scientist.
Right.
And I love Jessica Alba. I mean, I
Yeah.
enjoyed her in Sin City, and like there are roles that she's fine for. But
yeah.
you need someone with just that depth that you see in their face when they come on screen. That's the kind of actress that you need to play that role. She's a scientist. Get someone that has that layer.
I put-
And we're not talking about physical layers.
What's that?
Larry.
There was a Rock movie that I love. The Rock. So you cast The Rock in just about anything. If or the Rock would be
Scorpion
Ben
King.
Grimm for me
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
and I would just be so excited. But there's a Rock movie that came out a couple years ago. I think it's that.
Tooth Fairy?
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one.
Is
Is
it? I think no. San Andreas, whatever. It's the one. with
Yeah.
Ben Grimm, I
Yes,
think.
yes.
And Ian Griffith, who is I'm sure I'm not pronouncing his name right, but that's not the way it's spelled, but I think that's the way it's said.
Right.
He was Reed Richards in those Fantastic Four movies. Well, Ian Griffith plays the villainous character in that San Andreas movie,
And he's better?
Oh, he's great.
Yeah.
Because in that he was a sniveling, spineless coward, a greedy coward. And that was a great role for him. And that's not what Reed Richards is.
No.
And I feel like he looked too young. All these
He
people
did.
are
He
too
did
young.
look too young. And
The-
you look at the comic, and Reed Richards is old. You know,
and
he's
then
an older
with
guy.
the reboot, they made everyone
Oh,
even
I heard
younger.
that they're like all teenagers.
Well,
It's
right?
like the Muppet Babies presents.
But it also goes to show you how something can work in the comic books that doesn't necessarily work on screen. Because a lot of those Marvel movies, their origin point is from the Marvel Ultimate Universe,
Right.
Which is it's a reimagining of the regular
Right.
Marvel Universe,
Right.
and so in that comic, in Ultimate Fantastic Four, they're a lot younger.
Yes.
Now
Right.
it works as a story in a comic book. I don't know if it
Right.
works as a movie, and once again, it's a bad script.
Right.
Right.
It's a terrible script.
But also, I think with superhero films, since the first Iron Man,
Which I loved.
right?
I love that.
What that did was, though, it in the best way that had it not been done before was set the superhero world in a real universe.
Yeah.
It was maybe attempted in the past before, but that movie more than ever did that, and it has since branched out into this huge, shared universe franchise to do. But in every movie, every character, no matter how fantastic the situation, they put it as if it's in our world and their superheroes are real.
Yeah.
And so to do that, to make that work is tough. And yet you're right. The Fantastic Four films didn't do that, and that's where
And
that's what Marvel does over DC in general.
But it's spreading out across the influence is amazing. Even like the recent Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies are like no, but they're.
Wait.
But have you seen?
just
They're real, but they're done in a real world.
Right,
now.
right, right.
They're hyper realistic looking.
Right.
The new Power Rangers movie. Have you seen
Yeah.
the trailer for it?
Yeah.
It's a serious
It's
like
amazing.
it's done.
Yeah.
They're done like Marvel superhero movies now.
But I think that the casting of Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark cannot be overemphasized.
No.
I
How
agree.
important that was.
That-
'Cause, I
I'm
mean,
telling you,
which
it
is
was-
not,
it
which
was
is actually,
pivotal.
which is interesting because Tony Stark in the comic books is not Robert Downey Jr. at all.
That's true.
He's,
Right. That's
he's,
true.
He's, he's a bit of a playboy. He has a drinking problem, but there's not that element of
it
humor.
sounds like you're making a lot of excuses for Tony.
Look,
Are you codependent?
I'm his sponsor when it comes to alcoholism. He calls me when he wants a drink, and I say, "Well, it's in the upper cupboard there.
Let me get that for you.
It's
Tony.
behind the sugar." Yeah.
Yeah, but nobody had this image of him as this big action star before Iron Man.
Right,
and,
right.
And he had this bad boy image where he was, in rehab all the time.
Yeah.
A lot of people thought he'd be dead by the time he
Yeah.
was 40.
But like you said, like we were just saying, that he was cast well, not because he was cast as Iron Man, because he was cast as Tony Stark.
Right.
That's
right.
what made it work.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, what about Helmsworth? I mean, he was cast as
Yeah,
Thor.
He's
but
good too. No,
he's
but
fantastic.
I think all the casting.
That's a tough one to
yeah,
cast.
all
That
the
is-
casting
that
of the
is-
of the major.
Yeah. I
superheroes are
think
good.
so. I think they're beautifully cast, every single one of them.
Directed well and written
The
well.
trick with those, and I think what they get right is that for most of those superhero characters, they perform better in an ensemble than they do on their own. The Hulk is a much better ensemble character in a movie than he is in a movie. You can't make, how many times they tried to make six?
Yeah, although I
they
did
tried to
like-
make
I did
six
like
Hulk
the-
movies.
I'm a big fan of the Incredible Hulk.
the Norton.
The Norton
Yeah,
one.
I did like that
because Norton, the one thing, again, we go back to Bruce Banner, he really fleshed that character out, made him human, made
Yeah.
that character interesting. You're not
he's-
just waiting for him to turn into the Hulk.
He's no Bill Bixby.
You know,
who can be?
I loved that TV show.
Right.
And,
That
and
show-
at
that show was ahead of its time, though.
Well, and,
yes.
and that's a TV show that had its longevity, ultimately because Bill Bixby is a
absolutely.
right.
compelling.
But now,
You- yeah.
so now
Lou
there-
Ferrigno
Now look,
too.
Lou
Come on.
Ferrigno's great.
he is great.
But Bill
He's
Bixby
absolutely
was
great.
the soul and heart of that show.
but let me,
That's right.
so there, but
But
they've
Lou
been,
Ferrigno, great in moments, because that's the trick with Hulk. When the Hulk is out, it can drag down a movie.
unless
Because
it's written well, like they do in Avengers.
well, this is my point. No, as a supporting character, the Hulk then becomes this brilliant comedic relief and a huge action star. He's much funnier in the Avenger movies, and in the Hulk movies, not funny.
But
He's not funny at all. No,
you-
that's
not
true.
funny at
That's
all.
true. That's
if you
true.
had Mark Ruffalo in the Ang Lee one, I'm not saying I'm not saying it would have been a great movie, but it would have been better than Eric Bana.
Yeah.
Because he's
I'd
just,
agree with
he's
that.
just
Well,
not
I'd agree.
there.
I'd agree.
What I'm really looking forward to is the upcoming Thor Ragnarok, which is
Yes.
supposedly kind of like a midnight run buddy film with Thor and the Hulk.
Yes,
Perfect.
that would be
Yeah.
great. And that's a
Yeah.
great mashup because I also feel the same way about Thor. Chris Hemsworth is an amazing Thor. Thor is a great character, but
Ensemble,
the Thor
yeah.
movies, not so much.
I like the
Dark
second
World.
one.
I
Dark-
loved
Dark World is good.
Yeah, I like the
I
second one.
love those.
He
Dark World
is
is
a,
good.
but because he is like Superman, he is such he is an infallible character, physically infallible. It's funnier when he's sort of a fish out of water.
I do love the idea of doing when I saw that first Avengers movie and I saw the interaction between Thor and Hulk, I thought this is the TV show
That's
I
a
want to
buddy
see.
comedy.
I want to
Yeah.
see this odd
Right.
couple.
So basically, what we're saying though is this studio that has been working on this, the casting people got this right.
Pretty
right.
most of the time.
Most
I think.
most of the time they got these right.
Well, isn't the argument that Marvel themselves has more to do with the casting on these movies as opposed to like the Sony Spider-Mans? or
yeah.
any
Well,
of the X,
yeah.
Maybe,
the
yeah.
X-Men, which I think are at Fox.
Although I
yeah.
do enjoy the X-Men ones, they've been kind of a mixed bag. But
I do like the rebooting on X-Men more than I thought that I would.
I did not care for the Apocalypse one.
Oh yeah, I get what you're saying.
But I do like everybody in it.
Well,
Mike's
it's also not a full reboot in that they're wiping the slate clean. They're retaining
Right.
the original cast with the time travel element.
Yes,
And so you get the best
right.
of both worlds.
You
Right,
do.
that's true.
Because
Hugh Jackman is wonderful.
Yeah.
the thing for me about those original X-Men movies is I always felt that they were really just more Wolverine movies than X-Men movies because you don't really spend any time.
Professor X is pretty great.
Yeah, but you don't really spend any time with Cyclops. You don't spend
Right.
really any
No,
time.
I agree. I agree with that.
I
I'd agree
see your
with that.
point. I'll give you
and,
that.
Yeah.
Beast. Anyway.
No,
so
I-
feel
that's
like
true.
there's so many great characters that you really
kind of
never,
overshadows.
You never get because you just get Wolverine.
I would say that with the
and I know Wolverine is the fan favorite, but still.
with First Class and going back in time, having Magneto played by.
Beatrice Arthur.
She had so many layers. Talk about layers, right? She could do anything. To go from Golden Girls to then Magneto, and wow, just
We don't know.
the tools in her kit.
When she would, when,
was in Lord
when
of the
Magneto
Rings.
would look at Professor X and say, "Shady Pines, Ma, Shady Pines."
Michael Fassbender. I'm sorry. Michael Fassbender. Michael Fassbender, who, by the way, is a guy who I could see in
Prometheus.
In the nude, you can see in the nude.
I
I'm sorry to finish your sentences for
well,
you.
because you've been to the bedroom, you've seen the
Well,
mural that I did on the ceiling.
And I've seen Michael Fassbender in the nude.
Have you?
Which is just
tell.
one of many audition stories.
I hate to take a sort
Get
of
off the subject here, get
a
off the
little bit,
topic.
but I have been wanting to ask you: are there, because you've been through a lot of casting sessions?
Yes.
Are there any crazy ones or weird ones where you don't even have to say the
you
name
can
of the
talk
person?
about.
No,
But
come on.
situations where you're like, wow, I never thought I'd see that. Or
Yeah. Well, I don't cast a lot of TV projects, but the shows that I get on, when a pilot goes to a show, it seems to run a long time. So I've got a close to 500 episodes of television that I've cast.
It's a lot of episodes.
And I wish that was reflected in my paychecks. Anyway, but I'm off topic. But yeah, so
We
that
did get you Chinese food.
you
so.
do see you do see some interesting things. I do have a couple stories that I like to tell about weird auditions, but they're from way back.
Go. Doesn't matter.
So when I was casting that 70s show, one of the episodes I had to cast had a character named Bikini Clad Girl. This is the character, Bikini Clad Girl. She was seen in a fantasy sequence, and on that 70s show, every episode had some sort of fantasy sequence in it. This episode set up a storyline where Kelso, played by Ashton Kutcher, decides to become a police officer, and then he spends like another season going to police academy training, and he becomes a cop on the show. So in this episode, he has a dream. In the dream, a girl in a bikini who works in a bikini shop is assaulted by a burglar who comes in black, the black mask, and he's got the black and white, striped burglar
Hamburglar.
shirt. Right, like Hamburglar. And then Kelso, as a cop, comes in and hits the guy over the head with a billy club, and then the bikini-clad girl says, "Thank you, saved me," and she says something silly like that, and she hugs him and kisses him, and he wakes up. So, bikini-clad girl. I had this audition. Now, that 70s show, we did 200 episodes of that show, and virtually every week I'm casting sort of the same character, which is just, sexy, voluptuous, attractive girl, woman in her early 20s.
Nice work if you can get it.
It is. It's basically
tough
it.
job.
And it's typically blonde because we had a redhead on the show and a brunette. So you're usually casting blondes. Anyway, so I had bikini-clad girl. I had to see a lot of girls for this. And I had a buddy of mine who's an actor, and he had just recently been through a very bad breakup. Girl he really was crazy about had left him. So, and I needed a reader for the day. So I thought, this will cheer this guy up. I'll bring him in and he can be the reader, and then we can also kind of commiserate and we'll talk and stuff and catch up. So he comes in, a really great guy. His name's Joseph Limbaugh, and he knows I tell this story. So So Joseph is sitting there, and he's a great actor and a really stand-up guy. So I also knew that he would be appropriate in the room.
Yeah, he wouldn't
when
be
you're
creepy
auditioning. Wouldn't be
or-
creepy or anything like that. So anyway, this is also during the time of Baywatch. So a lot of the actresses who would come in would say, hey, they would come in just in their clothes. And they say, do you need me to change into my bikini? Because Baywatch used to make you go on audition in your bikinis for them. So, do you need me to change into my bikini? I said, no, it's just, you're fine. Well, anyway, so one woman walks in, and she's a little older. So we're usually casting like,
Barbara Billingsley.
It was Beverly Garland. So true story. True story. She wrestled an alligator for me. Right there.
Hot.
Well, yeah, it was pretty hot.
Don't tease me like
And
that.
she told me a lot of Fred McMurray sex stories.
Down to his knee. That's what I heard.
So,
Come on.
Anyway, so this woman walks in, probably late 20s, maybe early 30s. Very attractive, very voluptuous. She is wearing a trench coat, and
Ooh.
it does not appear that she is wearing pants.
Okay.
Under the trench coat, she's wearing a pair of those plastic,
Yes.
like lucite stripper
Yes.
heels with the
Yep.
plastic flower on them. She comes walking in. She's very sultry. She's doing the back and forth, kind of boom, boom, boom kind of walk. And she says, hello. I'm very happy to be here. She goes, it's very warm in your office. Would you mind if I took off my jacket? And so I say,
By all means.
Oh.
yeah, by all means,
Yeah.
make yourself comfortable. So she takes off her jacket, and of course, she's wearing a very tiny bikini. And she is built like a stripper. So she's a very large,
Not real necessarily.
enhanced breasts. She looks like a stripper, a great stripper.
Okay.
Like
all
a
right.
great stripper.
All right.
There's nothing wrong with that.
wrong with that at all.
Friday, Saturday night
Right.
shift.
Main stage.
Call time 11 p.m.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Def
she's the
Leppard
chef.
soundtrack.
Right.
Right.
She's
Vegas.
not there. Not Tuesday lunch. She's there for prime time. Great looking lady. And so she walks up and she proceeds during the scene with Joseph, who's sitting in a chair reading with her, proceeds to literally lap dance him while the scene happens.
Wow.
She puts a 1 foot up on his chair right between his legs.
Okay.
And leans in with her chest kind of in his face. And then she flips around and sticks her butt in his face. The whole thing. She does the whole thing, and it's pretty horrible. She's not a very good actress, obviously. And, and she finishes, and I said, that was great. Can you do it again? And her response was, oh, you bet I can. I'm a method actress. Yeah, and then she did the whole thing again, and then she put her jacket on and left. And Joseph was just like dazed and confused.
Like
Now, did she?
now his best friend ever.
Ever.
Did she get the part?
Yeah, no, she did not get
No.
the part. Absolutely not. No. But
The guy, he has to work again.
but the thing is, yeah, right. You can't present these to
No,
producers.
no.
From an actor standpoint, I would say that she probably woke up that day not thinking, how do I sabotage my audition for Bikini Clad Girl? She probably thought, I know how I'm going to get this job.
Exactly.
I'm going to be the only one brave enough to show up in my bikini. These other girls are going to be chicken to do it, and I'm just going to own it.
Yeah.
And that's
right.
I'm sure that was her thought
Oh,
process.
yeah.
so-
it's always
so
like,
you
I
denied
have
her-
a great idea.
You denied her because she owned it. She gave
Well-
what that
Well,
role
no. Since the problem
demanded.
is that she thought she owned it.
Oh.
She didn't. Some people are told, a lot. You're always told to trust your instincts. And I got to say,
never.
that's not a good idea if you have, right? Some of us, Matt, I may be speaking for both of us, and I
Yeah.
shouldn't.
No, I think you're on the money
don't
here.
always have good instincts. There are some things in my life that I have very good instincts for.
Yeah.
And a lot of things that I don't. I do maybe 2 things in life well. And the rest of my life is a complete fucking garbage can.
Yeah. Oh, that's why. What's great about being married is that I can turn to someone who is way smarter than I am and go, "Should I do that?" And like, no. Phew.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah. That's,
G,
yeah.
have you ever cast someone for one of those types of roles that was like below the line
Mm-hmm.
years ago, and then later on they actually became more of a
No.
household name? Okay. Well, that just goes
Isn't
to
that
show
funny?
you
That's the way it works.
it's a
Yeah.
tough
No.
business,
That's not true. I'm trying to remember who Is there anybody I've cast? There have been a couple. There was a guy. When I was casting that '80s show, which was on for a hot minute, they did 13 episodes. Cast a guy, got him his SAG card. He'd never done any TV shows before. Had a small part, like a customer who walks into a record store and says a line. Funny guy. It's Derek Waters, who does Drunk History.
Oh wow!
He does tons of stuff. Do I get to cast any of it? No is the answer. No is the answer.
Now, I would also...
I also know Amy Adams was in... I didn't cast her, but Amy Adams was a guest star in one episode of 70s Show in the first season.
Wow. I'll find that one.
Yeah.
Getting back to your earlier story about the stripper lady. Now, from what I've always heard when you go to classes that talk about auditioning, is that like a big number one rule is no touching, right?
Oh yeah, right.
Isn't it kind of the same rules in like a titty bar?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, don't touch the strippers.
Yeah.
The strippers can touch you.
Yeah,
that is the same rule of thumb that applies in my office. And then also the same thing I tell the actors, the same thing I tell the hookers at home, which is don't fucking look at me.
Eye contact
I'm
is
going to
so
be able to touch
disconcerting.
you, but you're no.
See, that's why you're here.
And not working. You don't want to touch the reader or other people in the room. My old casting mentor, Cecily Adams, was once casting a sketch. It was a Mad TV sketch. She's cast Mad TV. Right. It was a Mad TV sketch based on the old. Was it super glue commercial? Remember the old super glue with the guy, the construction guy's helmet, and it's attached to the beam, and he's swinging on it. And they had this guy in there to do this send up of that, and the guy was kicking his legs up, kicked her in the face. Kicked her in the face, gave her a black eye. She had told me a story once about a scene where the character auditioning has a gun, and a guy pulls out a gun in the audition. I mean, you would think common sense would prevail, but common sense is not all that common.
Well, and it's the idea in your head of like, I've got an idea.
Yes,
I'll bring a gun, and then that'll really hammer it home.
Right. You're kind of going someplace. So for G Boy, I want to just to say one.
And then G Boy check.
I just no. So you told some stories about casting in your office and stuff like that. For some actor who's going to audition for you or something, is there any basic generic advice that you can give an actor when they come in to audition that you could say, these are the things to remember so they don't do something stupid like take out the real gun or something like that?
Right. Leave the guns at home. Don't take the trench coat off
unless you plan to do it twice.
Yeah. Well, it tends to be stuff that actors typically know, but they forget to apply to their auditions. And it's simple stuff like, what does my character want in this scene? What's at stake for my character if I don't get what I want? These are not choices that you make for yourself. You read the writing, and based on the writing, what the writer is telling you, how the story goes, that's where you find out what your character wants. See what your character is saying. See what the other people are saying to the character. Find out what's at stake for them. You get those set, and then you can make choices for your character that are based on the text. It has been my experience that a lot of actors get told by their coaches to make bold choices, make big, strong choices for your character when you go in to really stand out. So what a lot of actors do is they think to themselves, how do I stand out in this audition? I'm going in for the role of bikini-clad girl. I know. I'll show up in my bikini, because I don't think any of the other girls are going to make that choice. So they try to think of ways to stand out when the truth is everyone's going to perform differently because no two people are alike. You need to read the material, understand the specifics of it, and then make educated choices based on that material to get through the scene. And that even goes for a one-line part. I was auditioning actors today for a role coming up on the middle. The role is male college student, and he's got one line, and I don't remember the line verbatim, but I should because I saw 30 guys do it today. But it's like I just took my last final ever, and he woohoo, and he's at this college party, and then he grabs a red cup of beer, and and heads off, and it establishes that we are at this college party and that everyone is just taking their finals. And then one of our series regulars comes out and is like, oh, I'm still studying for my final, right? So it sets up all of that.
Right.
And so many actors come in and completely crash and burn with something that small because it's just that one line, and all they can think about is how to be funny and different from the other people I may have
almost
seen.
Overthink it almost, right?
They completely overthink it. And they're thinking, how do I stand out and be funny? This guy's already seen so many people. Well, he doesn't know what I've seen. And all you really need to do is to really play the intentions of that scene. But you still have to sit down and do that work. It's
Right.
not, you don't have to do a lot of work on that because it's one line.
But to
you
trust,
still have to do
also
it.
to trust you, like to trust that you will be interesting enough that you don't need to fire a flare.
Yes, right.
You could just do that thing that you do.
One guy came in today, as a matter of fact, for that role, and at the end lifted his shirt up to show me his 6-pack abs.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, if he knew anything about me, he would know I'm more of an ass guy. So he was, clearly off the mark. Clearly off the
Now,
mark.
if someone
you should write a
auditions-
book.
If someone auditions that seems to almost have it right, do you give them a little bit of coaching
Yeah.
to see if okay,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
that's cool.
And then sometimes if people come in and maybe they're 50%, 75% right, but gosh, they look just like whatever they want, might work with those people a little bit more.
Right.
Sometimes if it's somebody that comes in that I've not met before and they seem really interesting, maybe not even right for this part, but they seem interesting, I may work with them a little bit on the audition just to see what their chops are in the room so that I know if I can bring them back for something
Right.
else.
You'll remember them.
And typically what I will do then afterwards is tell them that they're not right for this part that I'm casting,
Right.
but I really like their work and that I made some notes. I jot down notes about them on their headshot and resume, and I keep that on file.
But like
That's
when they,
really cool.
When they
I tell
come
them
in, I mean, should they say like, "Hey, how are you?" or "Hey, if we want to talk shop, let's do this after the audition,"
Oh,
or
he's-
something like that. No.
Larry is paraphrasing a
One actress
acting
came,
advice I was given.
Oh yes, one of the actresses who came in today is also one of my students. I teach a audition technique class privately that I've been doing for about 15 years, and she's a student, on and off again student. And she came in today. Haven't seen her in a few months. And when she walked in, the first thing she wanted to do was chat and give me a hug. And I, for her sake, said, "Let's do all that afterwards. I just want to
that's
see
good.
what you're going to do," because I knew that if we started talking,
It kind of goes
we
away a little bit.
and
Yeah.
we would start talking because we really even know each other.
Right.
Right.
So
right. That's
they
true.
would.
take you off focus a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah. So we did it. We did the scene a few times, and then we chatted and everything.
But let's say she didn't know you though. If she
Yeah,
came
yeah.
in, is that like a cool thing to do, or would you recommend?
I would recommend being present in the moment. That's the hardest part. When I used to be an actor, before I started to really understand how auditions go and really demystify them, auditions for me were like an alien abduction.
Yes. Yeah.
They were like an alien abduction where I'm sitting in the lobby and through a door is where the casting office is and where the auditions are happening. And often you can even hear the other actor before you in there.
Or where
And
the
I'll be-
aliens are.
Or the, right, and
yeah.
I'm sitting out in the lobby and then G. Charles Wright, okay, and I get up and I put my hand on the knob and I go to twist the knob and I open the door. And the next thing I remember is now I'm flipped the other way and I'm closed the door behind me. And I'm covered in sweat
Right.
and I'm panting and I have no recollection of who I saw in that room, what I did in that room. I was too nervous the whole time. So if you can just be real present to kind of pick up on the social cues in the room, sometimes casting people will chat with you before you start auditioning. Sometimes they won't. Just kind of pick up on it.
Go with the flow.
And that'll kind of
go with the flow.
reduce some of the nerves, I think, too, to make a human connection.
Right.
That this is not this overlord from, the spaceship
Yeah.
who's auditioning you. It's another person.
Right,
see
exactly.
these-
Who wants you to succeed.
Yeah.
Audition scenes in the most recent example I can think of is La La Land, where it's like, are you walking in and you're in the hot seat, but you want them to be more comfortable walking in generally, right?
Yeah, generally you do.
Can I comment on that, by the way, too? Which is that the La La Land scene, which this is the information that I was given in I don't know how many acting classes, and it's always wrong. And that is that, they're going to be tough on you. You got to be ready. You got to be thick-skinned because you're going to go in there and they're going to be... And then, like, every movie, the casting person is just grizzled and, like, bored. And look, I've been on a lot of auditions, and I can count maybe 5 of those. And then usually there was a reason why they were grizzled or bored because something had just happened before I went in. So you go, oh, I kind of understand that.
They're cold.
Yeah. Most of the time, they are the exact opposite. They are as nice as they can be. They're so friendly. And that makes sense to me because, again, they want you to succeed. Right. They don't want to freak out everybody that walks in the room. And so the idea that you go into this place and everyone's like, all right, go ahead. That's alien. Right. I don't
they played it up
relate to that at all.
Well, they do. They play it up in the movie like we play everything up in a movie. So it's supposed Emma Stone's auditions are supposed to represent how degrading and hopeless she feels her career options are and how out of her control everything is. And a lot of actors really hate auditioning. So it's supposed to give us that sense of that helplessness. So then that at the end, when she has that great audition, it turns everything around for her. It's like what was that movie, The Hurt Locker? Remember The Hurt Locker? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I saw that movie. I had to leave the theater twice to go out in the lobby and like breathe. I was having panic attacks watching that.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like I had a cousin who at the time was in the army and he was in Iraq. He did 2 tours in Iraq and 1 tour in Afghanistan. Now, when I'm watching that movie, all I can think about is, God, what must it be like for him? And I was just, I was completely freaked out. He will tell you, though, that fucking movie is bullshit. And being in the army is nothing like it. And he was criticizing all these inaccuracies. Mm-hmm. And that's when it kind of clicked for me. I'm like, oh, that's the same thing when you watch these movies that are about show business.
Right. That
we all know, like when they're making a movie, you're like, well, this is not anything like how you make a movie.
Right.
It's done to make the audience feel like they are a part of that. And that's when I got it. I go, oh, well, it's inaccurate to you because you're really in the army and you really are in Iraq. For me, what that movie did is it made me feel like I was. And those audition scenes with Emma Stone in La La Land help people to understand, to make them feel like they are hopeless and lost in that job. Because being an actor is a hard job, and so much of it is out of your control, and so much of it can feel like just a meat market and very degrading, that those scenes are really just designed to make you understand that is as an emotion or as a thought process.
I also wonder, though, if it comes from a cliche of, and not necessarily a cliche, but maybe the way things used to be, because more often than not, when I would go to an acting class, I'd be taught by a person who I was like, oh, I know you. You're in all those movies.
From 20 years ago.
Right. And so maybe when they were going into these auditions, it was like that. And people were dismissive and a little rude. Mm-hmm. And I think maybe things have changed a bit. That kind of behavior, I think, also takes a lot of energy. For you to be that pissed off all day in your job as casting director has got to be hard. Why not have fun with it?
It is a job like any other job. So there are people in it who are really great at it, and there are people in it who are really horrible. Hey, I've been to the DMV, and I've had some really great people help me out.
Yeah. Right.
And I have had some real fucking monsters.
Wow.
And the checkout line at Ralph's, at the supermarket.
Yeah,
Which
absolutely.
Ralph's?
Any
Sexy Ralph's? That's here. That's Vineland.
I've had great experiences at this Ralph's.
Sexy Ralph's.
Yeah.
Sexy Ralph's.
Ralph's.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is great.
Wait,
This
wait,
talk.
No. Let's get back to Ralph's.
No. Go ahead, Sean.
Gee, I wanna
Have you
ask
been to Gertrude on aisle
Baby
3?
G, come on.
Speaking of stuff,
Baby G.
Check.
speaking of like history as far as like roles, when it comes to genre films, I always wondered how, if you see a difference in casting movies in the horror sci-fi genre as opposed to in the past, or maybe it was a stigma. I mean, nowadays the biggest movies are either superhero movies or horror or sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
As far as casting with either movie stars or just actors in general, if there's a more acceptance of that now.
Horror movies seem to be the last great hope for independent films
Yes.
to make money. So most of those tend to be made still with unrecognizable name. People, because you usually make those pretty inexpensively, and they use people that
Which works
maybe
to
don't have a lot of
their
credits.
advantage, actually, too, when you have people who are just in these roles that you just buy them as this character.
It absolutely does, because if you've got if you have an all-star cast, it really takes you out of that. I just went and saw Get Out,
which I hear is wonderful.
I hear
It's a
getting
good
good
movie.
reviews.
I got to be honest with you. I really liked it a lot, but I do feel like it's one of those movies that may get blown up and overhyped, because it was good, but it's not gory, and it's only partially suspenseful. It's
kind of humorous though, too, right?
it's humorous,
Or
but
satirical?
a lot of it's satirical.
Yeah.
and it's a really good movie, but it's not a lot of really recognizable people in it. There's the stars who are somewhat recognizable, but there's a lot of other characters in that film, and almost none of them are people that you've ever seen in anything before. And to me, that was really exciting. I have to look up the actress. I don't know that I'd even seen her in anything before. At least I didn't recognize her. But she plays the maid in it, and there is one scene with her where the camera's just on her in a close-up as she goes through an emotional shift, through like 3 emotional transitions without any dialogue. And it's all just seen in her face. And it was really powerful. She was just amazing. I don't know. But for me in horror, usually if you've got a lot of namey people in it, the assumption is either that they're going to live to the end, or that it's nice to have people fresh faces.
As you were pointing out too, is yes, in an independent horror movie, you're going to save money by casting an unknown, but also by casting the unknown, you have someone who is a stranger to you, and you believe it like this is somebody you just met.
Right.
And you're living that experience with them as this person you just met.
Right.
Having that same experience with someone that you know from a gazillion other movies, it's just not the same.
Yeah.
Okay, if Danny Thomas were in Night of the Living Dead, it would take you right out of it.
All I'd be thinking about is some hooker squatting on a glass coffee table, taking his shit while he's laying under it. That's all I'm going to think about.
Sure,
Well, I'm also going to think about his
that's
children's
all I
hospital.
ever
What the hell are you talking about?
I love it. I love it. You don't
No, baby G, you can't say things
Yes,
like
you can.
that and just get away. This is how rumors get started. Okay, this is all very funny.
No. Larry,
yes,
Larry.
Yes.
You don't know this story?
You mean alleged story?
Well, that's a story. We're not saying you're not aware of these facts. But it's a story.
It's not.
Are you aware of the story of Hansel and Gretel? It's not saying
Yeah.
the alleged story
It's
of Hansel and Gretel.
it's a
Right.
Hollywood legend.
Yeah,
but
it's
you
a
know the
Hollywood-
story,
yeah.
right?
No, I
You don't know the story about
No.
Danny Thomas?
Well, you know what?
For the
Well, you
record,
just heard it.
I
You
only
just heard
brought
it.
up Danny
Gee,
Thomas.
Okay, look.
He won't
Hey,
accept it
okay,
from me.
listen,
Oh, he's
guys.
not going to accept it from me.
Okay, look, guys, this is great. But
do you know the story?
Yeah, sure, I know the story.
No, you don't.
I'd like to get back to our.
I want to know if you know the Danny
Okay,
Thomas
listen,
story.
I only brought up Danny Thomas because
Yeah, why did you bring up Danny Thomas?
James?
it was the first name that came to mind, and I was
James?
making a
Strange
point.
name to come to
Forget
mind.
Danny Thomas. Let's say Raymond Burr.
No,
Oh,
backwards.
no,
the Raymond
no.
Burr story.
James?
Oh, great.
James, do you know the
This is
story?
not that show, Sean. We're not doing
I
celebrity
actually-
rumors.
I actually do not know the story.
You don't
I
know
do
the story?
not know the Danny
Look
Thomas
at these
story.
guys.
Look, you know what? Look,
Gee.
hey,
It's
come
like
on.
fresh
This is
faced
this
innocence.
is
They're
okay.
supposedly in
Okay.
the business.
Okay, listen.
Monkey business.
Listen. Okay, yeah. Oh, that's great.
All right,
yeah.
do we need to tell you-
No, I don't need to tell the
Sean.
story.
Well,
no,
Sean,
no,
you just told it.
No,
You just
told me that.
yes.
But
But
had you heard that story before?
Yeah, of course, yes.
Of course.
It's legend.
Sean,
It is
Sean has been
legend.
around.
It's
Sean-
it's
Oh,
known.
that's right. I admit, Sean and you guys are very experienced. You've
That's
been in the
true.
industry
We
for
are.
a long time. Okay, that's
Sean-
great. So
Sean and I are like fear and loathing.
okay,
man.
I'd really like to move on.
We haven't read. Larry and I have not read the latest.
Okay, if
volume
we're-
of-
No, yeah.
we were gonna cast a hooker
No, hooker, no hooker.
in the Danny Thomas glass table.
Right.
Listen,
scenario.
I want to ask Harry G just one thing.
Okay. Now you're just stretching.
Okay. No.
It was kind of playful in the beginning.
No. Okay,
but-
we've talked about some things. I get it. Okay, so you Mr. Casting Guy. You've had a lot of experience. Okay, and we've mentioned some things and actors.
A lot of experience. He's had a career of it for more than 18 years.
Yeah, this is great. But there are sometimes when the casting director or the director say, I have the perfect person for this part.
Yeah.
And they cast this person and it just eats you and can kill a movie.
Yeah.
Kill a movie.
Yeah.
And there are several films that I went in wanting to really like this film, but the actor that was cast in one particular role drove me nuts and I hated it. Hated it. And I'm sure we all have.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I'm just going to throw this out. I'm talking about in 2005. Peter Jackson's King Kong. I don't know if this is on your list.
It is
listen,
actually, yeah.
I'm a huge King Kong fan, and we're going to talk a lot about when we do our King Kong show. But there was one particular character. Yes, they stretched out the script. They put in a bunch of different characters, but the main character of Carl Denham, who goes out on the ship and they capture King Kong, is played by Jack Black. Now, Jack Black is an actor, a talented, funny actor.
Yes.
I liked watching him in School of Rock. You know, I like seeing him in some of these other things. But this film, so freaking miscast. I mean, through the whole freaking film, I just thought he was going to do a fart joke or just start, making armpit noises or something, or start going. And I hated it. I absolutely not once did I believe that he was playing this character who was in the 1930s. In entertainment, and then goes on this shit to try to find these mythological creatures. Okay, I never for once bought it, and I'll tell you something. Well, I know why.
Somehow you're to blame.
No. I understand why Peter Jackson did. Peter Jackson thought, okay, so Robert Armstrong, when he did King Kong, he did kind of some funny films back then, and he was kind of he calls him meal toast kind of guy, and I'm going to put him. I'm going to kind of model that, and I'm thinking, God. Just get somebody else, an unknown, somebody who takes it a little more seriously. But that one thing, there are many problems I have with that film. I do like the film. It has elements that I like, but Jack Black just ruined it for me.
That's my least problem with that movie. For me, it wasn't necessarily the casting. It was like I did not need the entire history of how music hall works.
You know what? I actually didn't mind that. But
really?
Yes. Look. The theme today is casting. If whatever you want to say, I'm not going to say the script was horrible or whatever. It's just that particular casting just ruined it for me.
Well, it's like because you're used to looking at Jack Black in a movie and thinking, okay, in a minute there's going to be a beat and I'm going to laugh. And throughout King Kong, that's not what Denham's character is supposed to be. So you're kind of looking at him like, well,
I think that's a little unfair, and I don't know. Yeah, I understand the expectations of looking at a comedic actor and expecting them to do something that's comedic, but there's so many examples of that going the other way. Robin Williams would be a good example.
Robin Williams is Carl Denham?
No.
That would have been horrible. That would have been worse.
No,
would it have?
No,
yes.
Maybe
yes.
not.
No.
Maybe not.
I don't know.
Actually, that's not bad, but I'm pretty good at this. Anyway.
Well, what about,
or like Jerry Lewis in King of Comedy. Jerry Lewis
was great in that.
Chilling.
yes.
Is chilling and scary in that movie.
Yes.
Right, that's true.
I agree.
And so, there's a lot of people, I'm sure, that came into that movie with preconceived ideas. And what I'm saying is it's not necessarily that I'm looking at someone and basing their entire previous work on how I'm going to judge this new role. I don't think that's fair. I understand how
it's not fair.
I don't know, because you got to give them the chance to succeed in this role that
He
they've been
had his
given.
little Jack Black mannerisms in there in the film.
I don't think it was his fault either. I think
you think it was Peter Jackson?
I think it was Peter Jackson,
Yes.
the way the script was written. Yeah.
Yeah.
If it was handled more seriously throughout, if it was built up better, then Jack Black.
I didn't think he was doing that bad of a job.
Oh, I thought it was
myself.
horrible.
Yeah. G. Charles?
I don't even remember that movie.
It was a giant ape.
He does. He feels like Jack Black feels like a contemporary actor, and
That's true.
that is a film that is set in
Right,
another
it's a
time,
period.
and so he
That's
does.
a good point.
He does.
Yeah.
He does feel too contemporary.
Okay.
For me, I totally buy into that. There are some actors who just don't. You feel like they only play like the 20s or something like that.
Yeah.
Right,
You see
right.
them in something that's set now. They seem out of place.
Like if you're watching Downton Abbey, a lot of those people, they feel like of the period of the time,
Right,
the characters of the
exactly.
times.
Uh-huh.
Well, Jack Black didn't do it for me. Are there any actors in any other
Well, I
films?
think Jesse Eisenberg as
As anything in
yeah,
everything he's been in.
but particularly Lex Luthor in Batman vs Superman. I mean,
oh my
that's-
God,
that
Sean,
movie-
you're right.
That
Yeah.
movie already had so many problems.
But specifically-
he is so awful in
Yeah.
that movie, so grating,
Yeah.
and so annoying.
No, I agree.
And every such a misstep, it's so bad. It's awful.
But you
It's
know
just-
why they cast him.
He's awful. The decision to put him in it is awful.
Yeah.
The character's written awful. It's awful.
Well, let's talk to Mr. Casting
I mean,
Director.
do you
Was it
agree?
the
I-
casting director who said, "Oh, let's put Jesse in this. He's
Yeah,
like hot. He
Well,
just did that. That
well, the thing-
Fincher film. Come on.
No, I would imagine that movie feels to me like all of the casting of the leads in that. That's all done from a studio.
Right,
That's done
right,
at a
yeah,
studio
yeah.
casting level,
right.
not with the casting director themselves.
Right.
And I do think it all comes down to what we were talking about earlier. Like, here's somebody that brings in this guy brings in the young audience. Kids love Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah.
What was his super vigilante superhero movie thing that he did years ago? Wasn't he in one of those?
I know that he was. I always go back to Zombieland, which I didn't
yeah.
mind him.
I
didn't mind him in
Zombieland.
that.
No,
yeah.
no, but do you, here's a stupid question. Okay, chances are Jesse didn't audition for that role.
No, of course not. No,
Now,
no.
See, you
Yeah.
say, of course not.
Yeah.
Don't you think some of these big clowns should, big stars? Oh, okay, Russell Crowe, I know you have an Academy Award, but we're going to have you audition for this Noah part.
Right,
Let's
right.
go. And he would go, no, I don't audition anymore.
Well,
They
because
just-
it's not for the studios on that level. It's not about is this the right actor for
Right.
this role. The box office numbers show, based on our series of Excel spreadsheets that we've put together,
True.
shows that these actors bring in a certain number.
and
of
I have this kind of bad feeling. I could be wrong, but what Universal now is doing, they're rebooting all the classic monsters from
right.
Universal with a shared universe, but they're going it in exactly that way.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise in The Mummy,
Yeah.
Russell Crowe as Dr. Jekyll, Johnny Depp as the Invisible, Man. They're going all for just the big stars first, and then I have a feeling it's going to be a disaster.
Oh, of
I
course
could,
it's gonna
I could
be a
be wrong,
disaster.
but I think it's going to be like.
But,
it's just wrong way to think about
Can
it.
I get back?
Is
though?
Zachary Quinto going to be playing Dracula?
I wouldn't be surprised. I would
Vulcan Dracula?
Yeah.
the best kind. If I could get back to Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
Once again, I go back to, if I want to do my dream casting, I go back to the animated series, and in the Justice League cartoons, in the animated series,
Yeah.
Clancy Brown. Clancy Brown
Right.
is Lex Luthor. To me, he is my definitive Lex Luthor.
You watch a lot of cartoons. You ever watch anything for grown-ups?
Dora the Explorer.
Oh, yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
That is good.
Because they go to different places.
I never see the end coming on those. I'm always
No.
like, I always think Dora's going one way, and then it turns out she's going. I always think she's going to zig. Dora zags.
yeah. And
Every
then, like,
single
you
time.
are not dressed for this environment.
Because I'll be honest, there was a time when I knew exactly where in the world Carmen Sandiego was 5 minutes
still
into
don't
an
know.
episode. But with Dora
She
the
won't return
Explorer,
my calls.
I got no idea where she's going.
No.
the thing about Dora,
Carmen's-
what kind of bugged me was the map a little bit. I'm the map. I'm the map. Come,
Yeah.
Oh, come on. No, there are listeners out there that know. There's some listeners out there who have kids. Come on.
They've read my Dora the Explorer fan fiction.
Well,
they know.
Or
where I'm going with
Swiper the
this.
fox.
When you talk about Lex Luthor, for me, the definitive Lex Luthor, much like Robert Downey Jr., not really Tony Stark from the comic books. Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor, not Lex Luthor for the comic books,
Right, but
glorious.
So great.
He was glorious.
He was so great that when what's his name? What's the
Ned Beatty?
the chucklehead that made
Chucklehead.
made all those X-Men movies, and now he tried to remake Superman.
Brian Singer.
That's the fool.
Oh yeah, the
Brian Singer, when Brian Singer made that Superman movie that was supposed to be Superman 3.
Yeah, because
Right?
they did it with the same music. Even they
Sure.
Right.
yeah they tried
'Cause
so hard.
they got the guy who was very Christopher Reeve. He was doing like a solid Christopher Reeve.
Yeah.
He had the
Clark
red boxer
And he had the
things.
red
yeah,
boxers.
yeah.
Brandon
And-
Ruth.
The layers.
That's right. Brandon Routh. I thought he was actually pretty good.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah,
but
I'm with you.
stuck in a really lousy movie.
And I want and there was like I wanted to like that,
Oh,
and
me too.
I was
I did
rooting
too.
for it all the way through, and then it just crumbles. And then you've also got a bad Lois Lane,
Got a bad Lois Lane.
and again Lex Luthor,
Yeah.
Kevin Spacey.
Kevin Spacey,
But Kevin Spacey trying to be
right?
That's the problem. He's trying to do Gene Hackman.
he was trying to
Yeah.
do Gene Hackman.
Clancy Brown in the animated cartoon, which is all I watch, as you know, cartoons.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting.
Yeah, Clancy Brown. If you cast Clancy Brown real life,
Right, he was a good actor and
who's
cool,
a great
yeah,
actor.
yeah.
Shave his head, because what's great in the animated series is that Lex Luthor in the animated series is this mountain of a man. He is strong. He knows martial arts. He's also brilliant, but he's a badass and he's fucking evil. To the point where he, runs for government.
I'm going to be honest, you sound a little gay right now.
No, my
There's nothing wrong with that.
dare you?
Come on.
going
There's
back
nothing
to-
wrong.
Look, I'm not gay. I'm camp. Okay,
You are not English.
James, you have a
In
point.
America, it's
I'm musical.
gay.
James, you have a point to make here.
The one major thing I remember about the failure of Superman Returns is that in the story, in the script, you've got Superman mooning after Lois Lane, and he's heartbroken like a little puppy dog. Meanwhile, he's so focused on her that Luthor is getting away with all his shenanigans. That even like
Shenanigans.
that if Clark Kent was doing his job as a reporter, would have been one step ahead of him, and not even Superman would have needed to take him down. Clark Kent would have taken him down. He
Right.
was just completely distracted. It was ridiculous. It was a horrible script.
Guys, but talk about casting though. I mean, like if this really became a reality,
I've never seen you this angry.
if Burton made Superman with Nicolas Cage.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Thank God that
Right.
didn't happen.
Because you saw that
documentary?
Yeah, sure.
and
Yeah.
it's so bizarre, and like to see Cage with the long hair, and like just it would have been so bizarre. I mean, I don't think it would have been good, but it would have been maybe fascinating to see.
And you know what's great is that stuff was actually captured on film.
Yeah.
You know,
I
there's another film that a big budget film where there's actual footage of the audition process where the director, and it's clear they actually show a few different people auditioning for a particular role. And all the people in the room think it should be this other person, and the director says, no, this guy is it. There's just something about him. I can't say what it is. And it was George Lucas for The Phantom Menace picking Jake Lloyd, that
really?
poor little kid,
Really?
and
That ruined his life.
Well, and it's true. This is so incredibly sad. There, if you get the Blu-ray or the DVD, it actually has. There's like a documentary or something.
An apology by Jake Lloyd.
No. You know what's funny? I used to like hate that kid, and in fairness, he hardly had done
He was a
any.
kid. He
No,
was a
well,
kid. Yeah,
he's a
it's
kid,
not
and,
his
and
fault.
he had done a little act, just a little. He
Right,
had
right.
no freaking clue.
Right.
But in the auditions, there's another kid that definitely seems to have more emotion. He's maybe a year or two older, and which is what I think Lucas should have gone. And I think everyone else felt that was the way to go. But there was something about his Jake Lloyd's dead blah performance that spoke to George Lucas. And of
yeah.
course, surrounding himself with, everyone's going to do what George wants to do.
Sure, yeah.
And so Jake does it. And as much as I hated the kid, it's like he's a kid who couldn't act. And of course, he's working for a director that really wasn't directing him or anybody
Imagine,
else.
like,
Right,
if there's
right.
anyone that's going to suck even more life from your performance,
Yeah.
it's going to be George Lucas.
Yeah, and look, we're going to do a Star Wars show eventually,
Yeah.
and no, but it's like Jake Lloyd. So this is his one film. He gets teased mercilessly. All the bad press that's out there. The kid found out he's like suffers from schizophrenia or something. I mean, it's like a sad story, you know. But the funny thing is, it carries on into the other two Star Wars films, Attack of the Clones. I mean, I know some people may jump on me, Hayden Christensen.
No.
Look.
I don't blame him either.
No, look, just James.
Miscast?
No,
Yeah, I
James,
don't blame him
James,
either.
No, James. He had done a bunch of stuff before this.
Yeah.
And again, it's bad script. And I think he's interviewed where they were asking, so did George say do it like this? And he says, well, not really. I mean, the kid wasn't really given a lot of direction. Many people weren't. So
yeah, he's not an actor's director. Clearly,
no.
Right.
And the funny thing is, I think that maybe in the hands of a better director, James, and maybe if the scripts were better, maybe Hayden Christensen could have done a little better. But it's like, it's funny. Anakin Skywalker, the character of Anakin Skywalker, it's so sad that it's played by these two kids who basically give horrible performances, and it's not the only thing that wrecked those movies for me.
But an actor brings also a natural quality, and I don't think Hayden Christensen had the quality that those two movies really needed. I read that Leonardo DiCaprio was originally considered for that, and I'm keep envisioning him in that role. Well, he would have been better.
Yeah,
I'm not familiar with him. Has he been in anything?
But this is an example.
Growing Pains.
That guy. It's an example of like bad casting.
Yeah,
you know.
I agree.
And in fairness, it's not the only thing that destroyed those movies, but it can really destroy.
So for me, for modern day bad casting, and I have a feeling that some of you will agree.
Meryl Streep.
She is bad in everything. I don't really.
She is amazing.
Oh my God!
I love her. She is.
Well, this, sir, is where we disagree.
Right.
And you call yourself a casting director? Are you completely out of your mind?
He can't do it.
Okay, you're pulling my leg, aren't you? You're pulling my leg. See, yes. For listeners, he's just trying to get a rise.
For listeners, please.
He's trying to get a rise out of me.
Jimmy Jams, he won't do it. He won't. He can't go there.
All right, that's very funny. Go ahead. What's your modern day casting story here?
Now, The Walking Dead. I was a fan of this comic book forever before they finally made it into a TV show. And so, you read a comic book and you really kind of get in your mind, you almost do that casting experiment.
You get too close to the source material, it can be you're not going to be pleased.
Yeah. But I also, at the same time, am able to cross-check my own prejudices when it comes to that. A little bit. So at least when I see it, I go, okay, initially, maybe I'm not comfortable with who they got to play this character, but I'm going to give it a chance and see if I can maybe grow into it.
Right.
And so, Walking Dead, you've got Andrew Lincoln, who is Rick.
Yeah.
And
great.
now Rick is the main character of this story.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I was a huge fan of this comic book. And I'm at a place now where, he's in the comic books, I'm still rooting for him every step of the way.
Yeah.
And this TV show, all I want is for him to die.
Are you serious?
I just want him to die. And I want him to not only die, but die horribly.
I don't disagree.
Matt.
I don't disagree
that's
with you.
harsh.
But I feel the same way about Andrew Lincoln. However, I also understand how he gets cast in this, because the truth is, even for all of the issues I have with his performance, he has an it quality.
I see.
He's compelling to watch.
Yes, he is.
And he does carry that show on his shoulders.
He does, Matt.
I think I laugh every time he opens his mouth and his stupid accent. You hear his Australian accent come over and his bad Southern accent, and I get it. But he still drives it. There's a quality to him that is a movie star quality that you often find that you need to find with the lead, and a lot of good actors just aren't necessarily good leading men.
And Matt,
I will admit this.
Okay.
And that is that Lord knows how often I'm wrong. This show is doing quite well.
I mean, it's
Yes,
one of
it
the
is.
most popular shows on all of television.
Exactly.
on all of
Who am I?
television.
This is from a personal
Who
viewpoint kind of a thing.
knows nothing.
Clearly I'm wrong.
Clearly.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you. And then again, I also can't stand Carl. It is hard with kids though, because when he's cast, remember the little kid on Lost? Remember Lost?
I never made it through that.
On Lost. Well, the first season, there's a guy who's shipwrecked there with his kid. Mm-hmm. So they have had like an estranged relationship,
Right.
And then they got to get rid of that kid after like 2 seasons because the show is moving at such a slow, the storyline moves at such a slow pace, but
yes,
we've gone
it
through
sure
like
did.
2 years.
Right.
And now that he's no longer cute little 10-year-old, now he's like a weird, like pubescent kid.
Yeah.
And Carl suffers the same situation in The
Right.
Walking Dead,
Right.
where the actor is growing much
Yes.
faster than the years go
And-
by in the story. And it's hard with those kids. One of the things I think we got lucky with on the middle is that the youngest actor who plays Atticus Schaefer, who plays Brick on the show, has always looked much younger than he is in real life, and that helped to save a lot of the show, because 2 years into that show, he could have just grown into a creepy kid.
Yeah. Well, Matt, I just want to give
Like
you.
Carl.
I want to give you some credit
There
here.
we
No.
go. Oh, okay,
Listen.
okay.
In fairness, Matt, unlike you, I was not aware of the comic like you. I know you were really into the comic, and
Okay.
I didn't. And I did not get into the comic. I got into the show.
Right.
So I didn't know all the. I know you knew a bunch of these characters that were coming
And I
in,
think that
I
helps,
didn't.
actually.
And I didn't. And it's like what people always say. Oh, the book was better than the movie. Lord of the Rings. Oh, the book is better than the movie.
Right,
You know,
right.
it's it's hard to live up to something, a book that you read that you love, or a comic book that you love so much. Now, to argue with Sean, I mean, in some super hero worlds, not the DC, universe, but in the other universe, they got it right. But for Walking
called
Dead,
Marvel.
Yes, thank
so
you.
whatever.
I've been drinking. But I actually really love the guy who plays Rick. I actually
All
think
right.
he's I think he's great.
Great.
And I'm sorry. Yeah, and I'm sorry. I
Okay.
didn't get. Hey,
Good.
will you let me talk? I didn't get
Eventually.
the Australian or German accent or whatever.
Listen to a
nationality
Southern
he
person
is.
and then
Now-
listen to him.
Listen, I'm just telling you my opinion, okay? And he sounded fine. And as far as the kid,
lines at you.
and as far as the kid goes, it's like I wonder if I don't know if they expected it to be as popular as it was.
Well, no,
and
they were
I think-
hoping.
no,
Isn't that the point of every show?
It's not. That nobody could ever have imagined it would be as popular as it is.
As it is now, no.
Same with Game of Thrones. What you had when you're casting the pilot for The Walking Dead is you've got a show, a TV series on AMC, which is cheap network.
Yeah.
They're not going to pay you much.
No.
It's not like when you get a series regular role on a network
From what I
show,
hear, they don't.
It's no, of course not.
Yeah.
Because there's no audience for it. The advertising base isn't as huge. When you get back in the old days, you get a job as a series regular on a network TV show. That show runs 100 episodes. You arguably don't have to work the rest of your life. But that's not the way
Yeah,
TV
those days are
Yeah.
works.
gone.
So AMC, really cheap. It's based on a graphic novel. None of the series regulars from that pilot are household names.
No.
You
Oh,
wouldn't,
no.
you wouldn't know any of
Nobody.
them.
No.
But,
Right.
so the talent pool that they're even working from is very limited, because you can't attract a lot of people to it that you could attract to a network show, or at the time, like to an HBO show. People are attracted to HBO shows because HBO already has a history. At that
Right.
time, AMC had Mad Men and
which was
and
great.
Breaking Bad, which are great shows. But this was a genre show, and it's still different. So that plays into it too. There's a lot of the actors in it are foreign born.
Which is
meaning-
odd, isn't it?
It is.
Well, but you've got a guy who's from Australia. To him, the deal that maybe they offered for the pilot, pretty good deal. TV wise, it's like, oh, this ain't bad. It's better
This
than
is
the
great.
deal. It's better.
We get all the Fosters we can drink.
better than what he wanted. So it's different. And now, of course, they all make.
Well,
Right.
yeah, I mean, if you've followed the series, there are very few. As a matter of fact, I think there's only 1, 2, 3. There's like 4 or 5 that are from the very beginning.
Oh,
Right?
yeah, right.
Thank
Most-
goodness.
I don't
Because
think
it's
many of
gotten
them-
better.
No,
They killed off some dead weight, and then they reemerged in other shows.
And
But
so are they? They're in their
unfortunately-
7th season. Is it their 7th season now?
I think so. 7th
And,
or 8th. Yeah.
Do you know?
I think it's.
I don't
think
know
it's- I
offhand.
think they're.
Let's not fight
I think
over
they're going
this.
into the 8th.
Well,
Yeah.
because they split their seasons up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
then
hard to-
Sometimes
yeah.
it feels
So,
like
okay,
it's
it's
a half
12
season,
seasons,
yeah.
But it's like now they're in the position of. I mean, if they go further than this, the pay is going to go up.
Well,
isn't
you
it?
hope, depending on
But again,
where you're coming in.
Whether like however much you like or dislike or have been disenchanted by the show, one thing that Walking Dead did do right was, like you said, from the very beginning though, you didn't know these are all character actors, so they were just So you bought them as real people in this situation. There was no stunt casting.
Yes,
There's no
yeah.
like, oh, hey,
That
so and
does help.
so's in this movie, in the show, so I'm going to watch it. So that's what helps a lot,
Right,
you
and then
know?
as it became a popular show, of course, then it starts attracting actors because now people
Right.
want to be
Right.
on The Walking Dead.
Oh,
People want to be on Game of Thrones. There are so many shows that people just that they love, and then they want to be
Right,
they wanna be
right.
on
But
it.
Game of Thrones, if we're going to talk about Game of Thrones, I almost feel like that's the anti Walking Dead in the sense of
Oh,
the
sure, 'cause
acting
it's
is so much better.
Right,
on
and
that show.
and the budgets on those shows are huge. It's like
Yeah.
they're making
Like movies.
feature films.
Yeah,
Right.
and everyone. I mean, the worst Game of Thrones that I've ever watched has been pretty damn good, and I've
yeah,
never,
yeah, no,
I've
it's
never
great.
I've never had an issue with the
But
acting.
but it's still when you're casting the pilot for genre stuff like that, if there's money for it, they're putting the money behind the camera. And
Right,
you're still bringing in actors who are reading this stuff going, I don't know what the fuck this is. But it changes. It's not the same as with a lot of network shows. The Game of Thrones has the HBO advantage.
Yes.
But it's still nobody know. We think of those shows now with revisionist history. Game of Thrones, one of the biggest shows on television,
Right?
A huge franchise. It took the books and the book series and made it more popular.
Right.
But you just,
it feeds that.
You just never know. I mean, like that's the thing. Like
never know.
There's so many shows and movies out there now. Like you were saying earlier about like when we grew up, there wasn't that much stuff. So you never know which one's going to hit and have those kind of that longevity and just like
Nobody
with the
ever
public, it
makes
just
money. Nobody ever makes a lot of money when those shows start out. It's usually after the shows get going. I mean, that '70s show, those are all those people were virtually unknown, and all the kids on that '70s show had their careers made on that show.
Right,
But it's
yeah.
it's not like they were burning $100 bills in season 1. They were
Right.
burning $100 bills in season 8.
Yeah. Right.
right.
But yeah, because you make more money as it goes on.
They
But
shouldn't
from-
burn $100.
No, that's
Some of them are a lot better. I think they were actually all very good with their money.
But from a casting perspective, this is a thing that I'm talking about Walking Dead and a lot of the foreigners on the show, which
Yeah.
this is the part that I don't understand is I can't believe that they would say, Andrew Lincoln, your phony Southern accent is better than the guy who actually does a Southern accent, and why not just get him? Why not get what's this thing?
But who is that guy? What are you talking? I mean, we don't know how that went down, but we do know that he is a leading man. Andrew Lincoln is a leading man.
He's a leading
And
man.
so you're saying like the it quality of
Yeah.
that person
Right.
was more than anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
I'm with you. I'm with you there.
And I also do believe that probably everyone involved in The Walking Dead had no idea that thing would probably even go more than a
That's
season.
probably
Yeah.
true.
True. Probably,
Can,
yeah.
can I ask you this? Foreign actors coming into this country
Mm-hmm.
and playing Americans is way more accepted, and they seem to. There's so
Yeah,
many
yeah.
roles where I go like,
Like
oh, I can't believe that
British
person
guys
is from
playing
is
yeah.
a Brit or an Australian, and,
Right.
and so
Yeah, that's
is
kinda-
is that almost something that is now in vogue or?
Oh, it's very much in vogue. Australia's been real big, obviously, for some time. England, of course, too. It's because we produce in the U.S. We produce so much television that the argument gets made that they've run out of leading actors to fill those
Wow.
jobs. I don't agree with that. I have read that in articles that talk about casting every pilot season, and they always say things like, "Yeah, we just don't have enough actors here to fill all these roles."
show the actors
and
that
so
you
we're
see
going
them all
to
the
hear
time,
that.
right?
Well, I don't want to get on a soapbox about it too much, but I often think that what they really are saying when they, whether they know it or not, is what they're saying is that we don't have enough white American actors to fill all of these lead roles because virtually everything is white. It's all white shows. So
Right.
they go to Australia to find new leading men. They go to England to find, because we do produce so much television.
Germany?
There's German. Well, those Australian and German accents that are so similar, like Andrew Lincoln's. But yeah, there's everything is still so very white
Right.
that they're always we make so much television. Remember when there were only 4 networks and then everything started becoming reality television, and
Right.
people thought this is the death of scripted TV.
Right.
There will be no more scripted television. Everything is Who Wants to Be a
Yeah.
Millionaire now.
Yeah.
Right, which-
and it's not the truth at all.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
There's
especially now.
way more.
I mean, it's like it's
But because
insane.
there's 200 channels, and so everybody's got their niche markets. I would like to see more diverse casting on TV in terms of lead characters, where the family is black or the family is Latino, as opposed to the white family with the black neighbors. I would like to see more of that. I don't think that they do enough of it, because everything has become so niche marketed. You see more of it on cable stations. You don't see enough of it, I think, on network TV. You see it in dramas more than comedies.
Is one of the reasons for that, aside from just whatever, say racism, or
No,
just,
it's not racist.
or just being comfortable with the status quo?
No, there's a lot of white people in America, and they watch a lot of television.
Because I've also heard that when it comes to also international exporting things, the idea of having a God forbid, a black family or a black lead, that's in some, I've heard, in some foreign markets that can be, kind of a negative. Like when they were talking about the posters for The Force Awakens, I heard this story. It's an anecdotal thing, but that anything where they have Finn in there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. They compared the U.S. domestic posters to international, and he's not in a lot of the international.
Right. I don't know. I mean, that's not what I do, so I don't know that I can
No,
speak
I'm
to
not
it
saying you're a
intelligently.
racist. I'm not saying you're a racist.
No,
Jay.
I'm
And that's not what he does. So
No,
this is
you're talking
pointless here.
about marketing to international audiences,
Yeah.
which isn't what I do.
No, that's not.
So I don't know, but I would imagine that probably does come into play somewhat.
Okay.
But but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about making TV for American.
All right. Well,
audiences.
I want to ask you,
Yeah.
Mr. Casting Guy, what is like the perfect casting? Like, what person has or movie that's come out that you think is just, that is perfect casting? That is great.
Everything about the movie was great.
Yeah.
Casting wise.
Yeah.
That is tough for me, because most of the time I feel like there's something I would have changed.
Or a show?
Oh,
Or at least maybe one great casting.
okay.
decision.
Okay.
Well,
Not
I mean-
recently. It could be like within the past 80 years. Then what's something?
What do you?
'Cause
The casting of Nosferatu,
Max.
No, no,
Birth of a Nation.
Okay,
What do you think?
Okay, listen, I do have issues with both of those films, but like we had talked about Christopher Reeve.
I do think there are some really perfectly cast shows. I'm trying to think if there's anything. I'm trying to run through my head of the shows I'm watching now. Most of them seem to be on FX. That seems to be where I'm watching everything right now. There's a Zach Galifianakis sitcom called Baskets that I think is so meticulously cast.
It is very good.
Everything about it is good, because it is a big part of the show is broad physical slapstick comedy. But another part of the show is tender realism, and you don't often see those together anymore. The only thing that drives me a little crazy is that Zach Galifianakis plays identical twins, one of whom has a Southern accent. And that drives me crazy, because I don't understand why one of them has a Southern accent.
How convincing is Louis Anderson?
Louis Anderson is so great, and he won an Emmy for playing his mom, Zach's mom, on the show.
Really great.
And,
really great.
And I think, I don't know if it's because of that or because they realized what a goldmine they had with Louis, but this season he's getting even more to do. There have been a couple of episodes where it's really just been like Louis episodes, and though Martha, who plays Chip's best friend, she's hilarious. Because she's a stand-up. Do you know her?
I don't know.
She's a stand-up. The story I heard from Zach was on some NPR show or something. He was talking about Martha is a friend of his, stand-up comic friend, who he's always been trying to get into his projects. Every time he's got a project, he tries to get her in. She says no. She doesn't want to be an actress. He finally gets her to do this. She agrees. She comes down. They shoot the pilot. She tried to quit twice while shooting the pilot because she was just uncomfortable being in front of the camera and wearing the clothes, and just doesn't feel like an actress. She just wants to do her stand-up comedy. And they got her through it. And for me, Martha steals the pilot, and then Louis Anderson steals the series. And everything about it is great. That's probably, I think, my favorite cast.
Okay.
I really love that show. That's a great example.
Well,
That one,
yeah,
and also Atlanta, which just wrapped a few months ago on FX, I thought was meticulously cast. Everybody in it is great. There are characters in there that I think are some of the best sitcom characters I've ever seen, and it all takes place in Atlanta, Georgia, in the world of young guys trying to make a name for themselves in rap music.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's a contemporary story. It's a Donald Glover series. He created it and he stars in it. That guy's a genius.
Yeah, he's great.
everything he's done is fantastic. Community, he was amazing on Community. Childish Gambino music is fantastic. He's going to be the new Landau Calrissian in the Young Han
great.
Solo.
Okay, good,
really?
good.
movie.
No,
Yeah.
wow.
He's amazing. It's his show, and then this guy, I think his name's Brian Tyree Henry. He plays Paperboy. Paperboy is Donald Glover's character's cousin and a rapper. Donald Glover's character is going to manage Paperboy to try to so that they can kind of pull themselves up out of poverty. And
Paperboy is a great rap name.
Paperboy is a great rap name.
Yeah.
First of all, that's hilarious. And the guy I'd never seen him. I didn't know him from anything before this, but he's my favorite breakout sitcom character. And it's another show like Baskets that is extremely funny and very broad at times, and then really tender or very dramatic and feels very embedded in realism.
Yeah.
You know, most like multicam sitcoms are very heightened.
Sure, of course,
It is a genre. This is a really exciting show. It's been winning a lot of awards, and it's great.
Fantastic.
I hope more people see it in season 2. And it's another one of the shows that I think is a reason why we should be creating more content for people of color, because the stories are the same stories.
Yeah.
Of course, of
Well,
course.
this is great to talk about, like Baskets in Atlanta, but speaking of genre, I was kind of hoping in the world of science fiction, fantasy, and horror.
I have
like, for
with
example,
some things.
I was just thinking, like perfect casting, like, Boris Karloff in Frankenstein. No one else could have played the
talking
monster.
new shows.
No.
Boris Karloff.
No, I was talking about perfect casting. Claude Rains in the original Invisible
Sure.
Man. Basil Rathbone in Sherlock Holmes series.
Gee, is there a modern
great. Well, that's-
How
genre
about
thing?
Sigourney
wait.
Weaver, sir? Sigourney Weaver in Alien.
You're
Well,
talking to me
Basil
like
Rath-
I was somehow trying to get Sigourney Weaver fired from Alien.
I love that you mentioned Basil Rathbone, because as a kid, I was a huge Basil Rathbone, Nigel Bruce, Sherlock Holmes, Dr. Watson fan.
Love those
I
movies.
love all those movies.
Yes.
And so anytime I would try to watch, I was a big Sherlock Holmes fan, and I read all the Sherlock Holmes stories. And then when my dad would try to show me any other Sherlock Holmes movie, the stuff that all came out like in the 70s.
Yes.
So
I know
I
which
hated
TV series in there.
everything.
No, me too.
Every
Me too.
single, and my dad would be like, "Oh, this guy's great. He's this great British actor."
I'm with you.
I don't like any of them. I've never liked, and they reboot Sherlock Holmes all the time because I think nobody owns it.
Well,
right? It's in like public domain or something.
think so.
They remake them and remake them.
With
and
Jude Law and
Oh yeah, and Robert Downey
Jr.
Yeah.
Both actors I really like.
Yeah.
Yes,
I can't even sit. I won't
No.
even sit through those movies.
I'm with
What
you,
about-
and I
But
like these guys.
But
I like
then
those-
the Benedict Cumberbatch series comes along, and I remember hearing that the new Sherlock Holmes, and they're updating it, setting it modern times, and all I'm thinking is crap. Everything
Right.
you're telling me
Yeah.
sounds like a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And it's great.
Yeah.
That is a pristine cast. Everybody in it is fantastic.
Yeah.
The way they update classic Sherlock Holmes
Right.
stories is really terrific.
I'll have to look into that, but like you, it was no. I'm just saying, like you, it's like I loved. I mean, how I envision Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
Is
But
the Basil
Cumberbatch,
Rathbone-
though.
Yeah.
That Sherlock Holmes is a perfect example of it's the perfect casting.
yeah.
The perfect casting, and yet the material sometimes is up and down, and like it'll be great, and then it'll be really stupid and silly, but they are always great. And I always that's another example of like I wish the material
Right.
would match the casting.
I
And-
also have to say that I'm a big fan of Jeremy Brett as Sherlock Holmes from the 80s.
Wrong.
Really? You don't
No,
like
I'm just
him?
kidding. No. See, I can't watch any of those things
He-
because in my mind,
I know what you mean though,
no,
about
he
the
is
other ones, but he's my second favorite to,
Yeah.
to
Oh,
Rathbone. I thought he was
sure.
really good.
I think he was terrific. For me, I just can't watch anything but Basil Rathbone until until what's his?
Are you a Cumberbatch?
Bakelite.
It's like I mean, he did so
Benedict
many of
Cumberbatch.
these Sherlock Holmes movies. You know,
Right.
The Hound of the Baskervilles, Terror by Night. I mean, they're from 1939 into the 40s, and there's so many of these, and they're so great. They're so cool.
I would say,
Especially when he's in World War II.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I
no,
love when
I'm with you.
they contemporized them. You know, it's like he was like
Right,
fighting
right.
Nazi spies.
But you know, I'm not gonna say that. You know, if you didn't have a good Sherlock Holmes movie, you know, I'm not going to enjoy it because like Star Trek, as much as like Matt was saying, as much as I dislike the Star Trek films, I did like Christopher Pine as Captain Kirk.
I think they're all pretty good.
Yeah, you know, so I'll have to look into this one though.
I liked him also, and I typically like to be more contrarian. And I know that Civil War was an enormous box office hit, and it was very popular, but I still really loved it. And I loved Civil War, and I
loved it.
I do feel like everyone that Marvel has cast thus far is pretty great.
Yeah, I
and
agree.
the way they lay out, even in the Avengers or of the world of these Avengers movies, the movies that are uneven, I still feel like the casting is
they're
pretty on
been
point.
Really good.
And
I agree.
I'm excited about the Spider-Man movie, and I've never been excited about any live-action Spider-Man, and that includes Nicholas Hammond on television in the 70s.
I remember that show.
Horrible, set in Los Angeles.
That's right.
Of all places. Where can he spin a web?
True.
No buildings. There are more buildings downtown now. I think at that time in the 70s, the only like tall building downtown was the Hall of Justice.
Yeah.
There were like
It's
10.
one
There were
building
10
you
big
could follow.
buildings.
Yeah, there's that, and the Bonaventure. Like a half a mile away.
Yeah, it was a lot of him just driving a Hyundai in between crimes.
It was rough.
Speaking of Marvel, though.
Okay.
I mean, if we're going to talk about Marvel, we all enjoy the big movie franchise.
Yeah.
The new Marvel shared universe.
Yeah.
But adjacent is the shows like Daredevil.
Oh, yeah, the Netflix.
Yeah, all those
Jessica
Netflix
Jones.
things. Jessica Jones. And as much as I really enjoy Jessica Jones, Daredevil, I want to like.
Yeah.
I started off liking it, but it's really up and down. And then when they added the Punisher, John Bernthal,
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
okay, who was originally on Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
That guy. My problem with him is, first of all, no one has really captured the Punisher in the way that I would like to see him. Ray Stevenson, the closest.
In Punisher Warzone.
And Punisher
That's a
Warzone,
great
which is an
film.
underrated movie that
absolutely.
people should
You
watch.
told me about
I
that
think
one.
it's the best incarnation of
Absolutely.
the
It's
Punisher so far.
so much fun. But in this Daredevil series, first of all, he's way too talky, way too weepy, way too sharing his tragedy. The Punisher in the comic books is stoic.
Right,
And
that's true.
He's got that emotional baggage. He's got this stuff that's this turmoil that's churning inside him, but it's kept under wraps. And the Punisher in Daredevil is not that. I want my Punisher to be, again, we're talking about dreamcasting.
Right.
Michael Shannon. Michael Shannon as the Punisher. Because I'm talking about Frank Castle as the character,
Right,
not
right.
the Punisher.
Right,
I want to
right.
see Frank Castle.
Yeah.
Thomas Hardy would be another really great Punisher.
Yeah. Tom Hardy.
A
Would
lot
be great.
of, to get him to do that, who knows? Maybe we got to wait a couple years and the bottom falls out of that career. Because it's coming.
How is that? But how do you get the Punisher? You should want somebody on the top of their game. You're not like waiting for somebody's career to fall out to play the Punisher.
Well, no, because I want him to use that. I see. You know what I'm saying? I want him to use
he was
that.
always a little unhinged though too.
He's
That's the thing.
unhinged.
He's kind of trying to control it, but
And that's there's more going on with that character
Yeah.
than anybody realizes.
Yeah,
there's this battle. There's the military, because this guy was an ex-military guy. So there's that military side of him who's declared war on crime.
Yeah.
And so everything is very methodical when it comes to that battle. But then he's also, all of this
got
is just
demons.
this giant. It's very much the other side of Batman, dealing with personal tragedy.
Yeah.
And how do you deal with that? And with him, it's like every person that he kills is just one more
it is almost
person that he's avenging his family.
yeah, it's almost like Bruce Wayne gone even further and more uncontrolled a bit.
Yeah.
You know,
if
it's
Bruce
like,
Wayne was ready to kill everyone.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
That's the Punisher.
Well,
And-
the thing I like about the Punisher in the Daredevil series, I think that the reason I think I like him so much in the Daredevil series is because the Daredevil series without him was kind of boring to me.
I'd have to agree.
And
I'd have to agree.
I love I don't remember the guy's name who plays. I'm a casting director with really lousy head for names.
Me too.
I'm that guy. But he.
Wow.
Yeah,
You're
it's true.
great
It's true.
casting
I think it's the
director.
computer
Wow.
makes me soft. I think I used to
Yeah,
remember names
right,
a lot
right,
more
right.
until
No.
the computers
Right.
got so
I
good.
agree.
But what did you know his name?
Charlie Cox.
Charlie Cox, fantastic. I am not a big fan of the rest of the show. I like Rosario Dawson. When she pops
Yes,
up as
yeah.
Night Nurse, that's
Yeah.
great. Or I think it's supposed to be Night Nurse.
The show's way too talky.
It is too talky.
And Vincent D'Onofrio as the
As Kingpin?
as Kingpin is
Yeah, I guess I liked
really?
him. Yeah, I wasn't. I guess I just was disappointed with a lot of elements of that first season, so I didn't get that excited.
it's clunky at times.
It's a little clunky.
Yeah, I will.
For me, I
agree
think
with that.
I think of the Kingpin as being so much larger than life, and I didn't feel like I got enough of that from him. He seemed too odd. I liked him when he was violent.
Yeah, and
I believed him when he was
Yeah.
beating the shit out
And
of
I
him.
wonder
did,
if that's
I did
a-
feel for him. He did make you feel for Kingpin in a way you wouldn't reading the comics.
Yeah, and I think that's the idea is to make
Right,
him
right.
more accessible.
But unfortunately, I wasn't feeling that a lot of the heroes in it were more accessible. And this second season of Daredevil was half of it was
Punisher.
the Punisher,
Yeah.
and then the other half was what's her face. You know, that's I think how it's pronounced in
Electra?
German. Yeah, Electra. But Australia and in Germany, what's her face?
Yeah, yeah. I got a what's a face from IKEA.
Oh, you got that? Yeah.
Always some extra parts.
I could put it together.
That's great.
Put it together. Yeah. What's the what's the other Netflix?
Well, there's
Luke Cage?
Luke Cage.
And Iron Fist is coming
See,
too.
people don't like Luke Cage. I loved Luke Cage because it managed to find a camp element to it that I guess I felt was lacking. And I feel like the other shows take themselves too seriously. And when they take themselves too seriously all the way across, the shows become real one note for me. And I felt that Luke Cage at least had a little levity to it in places, and it made it for me more fun to watch.
I like him.
Oh yeah, he's great.
I think he's great. It's not him. It's the tone of the show.
Yeah.
And I haven't watched too
did-
many episodes, so maybe I need to watch a few more.
I did feel that the first half of the season was stronger than the second half.
Okay.
They basically kind of do a villain switch that I was disappointed with, but I do like Luke Cage.
It'd be interesting to see what they do with, supposedly they're going to go the Avengers route and combine all these heroes into the Defenders.
Defenders.
Yes, that's right. That's the plan with Iron Fist.
Right,
That's coming
right.
up. That's
Wow.
coming out soon. Yeah, that'll be great. And I think I may enjoy it more. Then. Kind of the way that I
yeah.
enjoy the Avengers movies more than I enjoy the standalones as
Right,
much.
right.
Although I do enjoy Iron Man, and I do enjoy, for me, the Captain America movies, I think play pretty well.
I really like them.
But the Avengers stuff, the way they pull that ensemble together, which is something Joss Whedon does beautifully.
Except for Ultron. I would say that was a pretty weak outing.
But what Joss Whedon does is he still manages to make he does amazing writing for an ensemble cast. I agree with you. But the way that he plays characters is the same way he did with Buffy the Vampire Slayer or with Angel, where when he's writing for an ensemble of characters, you really get a chance to see everyone. He knows right where to put humor in so that he can do something later that is extremely serious and it can be offset.
And I would say that the very first one of the things that I'd never seen in any superhero movie before, the first Avengers movie, is the ability to grab a comic book scene and put it on the screen and have multiple comic book characters, heroes, talking to each other while the action is happening,
Yes.
and not have it
yeah.
be disconcerting.
Which you always had in that comic.
Yes,
you
always.
Yes.
Everybody
Right.
was always talking.
Yeah.
all the way through it, and he made it work, and that is something to be said for.
I'm looking forward to Infinity Wars.
Me too.
I mean, who knows? That's, you know.
So those are examples of great casting.
Yeah.
Oh, I would
Great
say
casting.
so. And like with those Netflix, the Marvel Netflix series, they are a little uneven for me. There's a lot of DC series
Yeah.
that are on the CW I don't even watch.
Little too almost kiddie for me.
A little too kiddie for
Yeah.
me too. And now I don't know if you know this about me, but I was a huge Archie's fan growing up.
Really?
I'm such a huge Archie's fan.
like
that I
Jughead and
I have
Yes.
tattoos
Yeah,
of
okay.
Betty and Veronica, and Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and
Wait, you have tattoos?
Tattoos of and a Josie and the Pussycats character. tattoo.
Wow,
Where are
those.
these?
Where?
I love Josie and the
They're not on
Pussycats.
your
I have
arms.
Alexandria and her cat Sebastian from the old Hanna-Barbera
yeah.
cartoon.
Sure, yeah.
On my back. I'm a huge
Oh my God.
huge Archie's fan. So last year when the CW was announced that they were making an Archie's TV series, of course, everyone was flooding my Facebook page wanting to know if I was interested in casting it. And of course, I did not get a call. I don't get a call to cast that thing. But I don't think I would have taken the job if they had asked me to.
Too close to it?
Because I am too close to the source material, and I know that no matter who they chose, I would not be happy. And when I look back, I haven't watched the show, but I've seen some of the people they've cast, and I just look at them. I think to myself, well, the Archie doesn't even have red hair. Like that's why I'm like, I get really,
sure.
that's he might
That's
be
fair.
very good.
That's fair though.
I feel like I do want to kind of sit down and watch these. But yeah, I'm too close to the source material. Like I feel like with you and The Walking Dead, there's some shows, there's some things that I just know I'm going to hate because I love the source material so
Right,
much.
right.
And me and Zachary Quinto as Spock. I mean, I really, to me, the thing that makes Star Trek great is
Listen up, James.
the love triangle
Sure,
of Kirk,
yeah.
Spock, and McCoy.
Yeah.
That's what makes
Always-
that show
Wait.
great. And that's
the
when
love triangle.
It is a love. It's a bromance. It's a bromance. There is a relationship triangle there between those three guys that is so exciting. It took the series a full season
To realize that.
work
Right.
that to
That's
work
true.
that out.
That's true.
And they throw all of that away in the
Yeah.
J.J. Abrams.
They really
movies.
do.
Yes, they do.
They try to make a Kirk and Spock bromance.
It's
Awkward. And it's awkward.
Yes.
Those guys
Forced.
don't have any kind of real chemistry.
No.
The guy who plays
Dr. McCoy.
McCoy, I feel like he's just trying to parrot a DeForest Kelly impersonation,
Yeah.
and they don't give him. They don't
he has
give him
nothing to
anything.
do.
He could
pops in
build
at the
that into
beginning.
something bigger.
But
Yeah.
the show is those are the three guys,
Right.
And it's never those three guys,
Right.
That's true.
In those
That
movies,
comes down to it, yeah.
and
I would argue that too. That's partly the writing of the show, but it's the casting of those three actors that kind of made it work, though. Too, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
if one of them didn't quite gel with the other two,
Yeah.
you know, it was just kind of like this perfect storm.
Well, right, because the Star Trek is like 4 different series in the first season, and the Star Trek movies that feature the original cast, we think of that as those are movies based on the series, but those are movies based on the last season of Star Trek, because
Yeah.
that Enterprise crew doesn't really exist altogether until the final season.
Right.
right.
A lot of them are around, but Uhura and Sulu are fringe characters. Oftentimes, she's in an episode with not even any dialogue.
Well, McCoy isn't even in one of the is it the menagerie? It's the older guy with the white hair.
Right, they have a
Well,
different
he's
doctor
in.
in the
Yeah,
first.
he's in the pilot.
Well,
Yeah,
the
but-
only person who, of course, is in every single Star Trek is Leonard Nimoy.
Right.
Spock is in everything.
Yes.
And it even takes Leonard Nimoy a full season to work out Spock.
Right.
Because it's really season 2 when that triangle happens,
Right.
and Spock stops being so angry and volatile and becomes more logical. He's real shouty in that first season.
He is.
Yeah.
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 But would you say is that's
I feel like-
it's great casting, but it was like the writing and the direction, it came after a season.
Well, and you have to find chemistry in actors. Yes, but when you're J.J. Abrams making these Star Trek movies, I feel like they lose sight of a lot of that. And what
I think it's more.
it becomes that here's the picture of this is the cast. These are the characters that we all know and love. Which I do. Those member berries pop for me And when I watched those movies in the theater, and then I've never watched them ever again but the member berries will pop for me in those. But it doesn't have any of that chemistry.
I think that Abrams' movies too it's just fitting in another showcase action set piece. That's really what those movies are. I mean,
that's right.
On one hand, though, it's like, and we've talked about this before, that those films, that the J.J. Abrams Star Trek films, they weren't necessarily made for us.
Right.
They're
That's right.
actually
That's
made
true.
for the high school kids that my wife teaches in high school. It's like they're aware of what Star Trek is. It's been out there, but now it's like they put a new dress on the old gal.
Right.
And on one hand, it irks me, but on the flip side, it's like, hey, if that's what it takes to continue on the legacy of Star Trek, maybe it's not such a bad thing. It introduced them to another generation.
I agree with you because I love those characters so much that I don't mind the rebooting of it, and I get why.
Boy, it's such a huge money-making franchise. Of course, they're going to reboot it.
I just don't. It just doesn't have a lot.
It's not Star Trek, though.
It doesn't have a lot of heart for me, and it doesn't seem to be very character driven. And the thing that I'm attracted to in films are character-driven storylines. I think that's the great thing about about Civil War is a very character-driven movie. One of my favorite movies from last year was Moonlight because it was a 2-hour film that was completely character-driven without any special effects, anything fancy.
No, it's a great movie.
All character-driven, and I felt like I was starved for just real character-driven drama, and I do think that's one of the things that like the Avengers movies gets right, but I feel like the Star Trek movies don't. I think too many times they ignore all this stuff just for a lot of show.
Well, nowadays too, like the technology is so advanced now. We can bring a superhero world to life in a completely realistic way, or any science fiction fantasy world that it becomes a challenge. It's like because we can do that, it's easy to fall onto that instead of having
that's why everybody made so much noise about the latest Mad Max movie, and I love Thomas Hardy. I mean, he's great. But the one thing I felt that was kind of lacking in that film was story and character. I didn't get enough of who Mad Max was.
Oh, I thought you were going to say there wasn't enough action in the film, but
no, I love it. The action's great. Yeah, but even that, I would say, like I put it up against the original Road Warrior,
which I love,
which I think is great, and I think is a much better movie and has way more character development and better characters, better action.
There's no CGI in that movie, by the way.
Right?
Was that 82? Was that 80?
Yeah. And sometimes I wonder also if there is another movie in there that we didn't see that was left on the cutting room floor.
Well, I think it's supposed to be just a continuation of Mad Max storylines because the original movie is Mad Max, and that is the origin story.
Right.
And then everything else is taking that character and kind of making him like the man with no name who goes from town to town. So and in that way, I liked this movie.
I didn't mind because I thought Furiosa and a lot of it was really her story, and I didn't mind that though because I understand that you're right. Look, Fury Road is a much bigger operatic, larger than life movie, but because we have the first three Mad Maxes, we have the
I don't count the third one. But
but we have
Tina Turner.
But we have
come on.
I don't like it.
We have the smaller, more intimate origin story of Max. To do that again,
but I'm not saying don't do it again. You don't have to do it again.
Right.
We're talking about character development, where it's like a shark moving forward. We got the first story, which was his origin.
Right.
Then we got the second story, the broken Max, who then redeems himself. Right. And then what I want to know is what happened in between. Either Thunderdome and Fury Road. I want to know that. I want to hear him speak a little bit more. I want to know because there is a character there that I got to kind of know and love. Yeah. And now it's kind of a shell, and that's. I think they're missing an opportunity. Well, you could still have the same amount of action and everything else.
I know why Tom Hardy, why a different actor than Mel Gibson was cast. I understand.
Well,
no. Listen.
Why do you suddenly hate the Jews now?
Given all of that, I gotta say, I would have appreciated it more if Mel Gibson were in Fury Road. And I understand it's a ridiculous thing to say.
You mean Mel Gibson still aged it where he was?
Yes.
So can
30 years later, he's old Max.
That would have been interesting.
It makes sense for an older Max to be in that situation.
Yes.
Okay.
I completely agree.
And I think forget about Mel Gibson the man.
Yeah.
I like Mel Gibson as an actor, and I like what he does, and I think he could have been very interesting in that role.
Try ordering soup at a deli with Mel Gibson.
No, but even as Mel Gibson is unpopular as he is, with all that he said, that character gets put through shit in that movie. You could actually enjoy watching him go through all that.
That's a very good point, right?
Wow.
You know, that's interesting too when you bring up about like back when we grew up, like in the 70s, how a lot of leading men action heroes were older.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
Like you would see like Charlton Heston in the Omega Man. He was like what, pushing 50?
Every science fiction movie, every B science fiction movie, the lead was 60.
But here's the thing: they were older, but then they also looked even older because people age so poorly. So I mean, I actually like Charlton Heston in the Omega Man. May have been 37. Don't forget the guy didn't die all that long ago.
That's true. That's a very good point.
But he looked 85.
But talk about casting though. I always thought if Frank Miller wrote The Dark Knight just several years earlier and they made it into a movie then in the 70s, Charlton Heston at the age he was in the 1970s as Batman would have been great.
Wow. Don't forget, Hugh Jackman is 50 years old. You know what I mean?
In all the right places.
But
he's 25 in other places.
But yeah, like I think it would have been interesting to see that, or even like
I've got the Frank Miller Dark Knight Returns actor. If we're gonna do it now, Bryan Cranston.
No. Wouldn't that be amazing?
That's being cast.
Ready to go. Ready to go. Right out of the gate. What? No?
Well, because of course Batman ages in a way that the other superheroes don't.
Yeah, well, but in Frank Miller's, he was older.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
He was an old grumpy guy.
That's that's a great idea.
I think that would work. Why do you have a problem with that, Larry?
Will somebody get
who do you got? Who do you got?
That's not the
Counter
one.
me.
Well, what I was going to say was what would have been perfect for Interview with a Vampire.
Okay.
No. The only reason why Interview with a Vampire was made was because Tom Cruise got attached to it. Sure. He wanted to do it.
Yes.
And what bugs me is that particular character. It had been talked about doing this film for a while.
Is this going to get to
Rutger
Batman at some point?
Rutger Hauer was a possibility at playing the Vampire Lestat, but it took so long to get it going that he kind of aged.
But I also don't think Rutger Hauer has the acting chops to play
Tom Cruise.
Oh, Tom Cruise is a much better actor, but he's not. He's still miscast. Tom Cruise is not cast for his acting chops. Tom Cruise is cast for his box office ability. But I don't think Rutger Hauer
Tom Cruise, by the way. I don't care.
He is a great. He's great.
I really kind of love him in almost everything.
But he is cast and stuff. But it's true that he just.
But I do think he was miscast in that role.
Yes.
But I also, as a fan of those Vampire Chronicles novels, those should not be movies. That should be the next HBO series. And every season, like with Game of Thrones, where each season is a different book.
I like that.
And
I like that too.
I don't know what the holdup is because
that's a great idea.
That should have happened years ago.
Can we, Paper T? Can we write a letter?
Get Hollywood on the phone.
Yes.
You can talk to them about Bryan Cranston.
Party.
I have a person-to-person call from G. Charles Wright to Hollywood.
Because
Bryan
for
Cranston.
Lestat, Eddie Deason is still he's still working, right? I mean, no. I mean,
he'd be good at
with some
anything
coaching
as Batman.
I think it's a great
If he
idea.
took your class, maybe, get him right.
I've got 2 words for you. Chaz Bono.
Oh.
If you really want to set this in the 21st century.
Because he's ageless.
Chaz Bono.
Okay,
Ageless.
you're being ridiculous now.
No, he's not.
Wait. Eddie Deason was just brought up, but now I'm the one who's being ridiculous.
Yes, I mean, look, if you're not going to play right, if you're not going to, look,
don't make a mockery.
We had you on as a professional, and now you're just throwing out Chaz Bono.
Chaz
you know
Bono.
what? It's like, there are professionals out here listening. God, who is this casting guy? This guy sounds lousy.
That's what they're going to do. That's what they're going to think.
Exactly.
I'm probably
That's
going to get a lot of
that's
cards
what-
and letters over this.
Yeah.
But
right.
yeah, that would be exciting to me. Are any of you
Yeah.
watching Legion on FX? I'm sorry to keep dragging this.
Is that good?
My wife has
Yeah.
watched it, and she's been saving the episodes because she says, "Sean, you gotta watch this show. It's so weird and bizarre."
Is it is it a
good, though?
Marvel
It's
thing?
yeah,
It is.
it's
Okay.
like, it's
it
like
is.
mutants. From,
Is it cast
right?
well?
It's X-Men mutants.
Almost. I have some issues with it, but it is really great. They're taking their time to tell an origin story, and that's exciting. Dan Stevens from Downton Abbey
Yeah.
is the lead in
He played
Legion.
Matthew.
Matthew Crawley. He's the lead in Legion on FX, which just stretches out this origin story so beautifully. I encourage you to watch it. Everything I'm really enjoying right now is on FX. Everything.
Does he play a Brit in it?
No,
Or
it is-
this
it's an
another
American
case
character.
of a Brit playing an American.
No, this is a case. Yes, it is, but not to be confused with an Australian German playing a Southern.
Okay.
Which is what we were talking about earlier.
Oh, I'm so
but
confused.
his accent is flawless. You don't
Wow.
hear it.
How about Humans? Have you seen Humans?
I've watched the first season, have not seen anything yet.
It's
from
very
season
good.
Interesting,
two.
yeah.
It's
Yeah, I
very
like that
good.
one.
The first
Yeah.
season.
And talk about casting. I would say anybody who is cast as an android in that thing
Yeah.
does an amazing
Yeah,
job.
the lead actress.
Oh, she's
Yeah.
really wonderful.
And that seems that's one of those roles where coming in cold you might think, oh, that how hard could that be to play? You just talk in a monotone voice, and it's not that at
No,
all.
yeah.
There's
No,
so many nuanced moments.
you have to have
Yeah.
those nuances because
Yeah.
they're supposed to be human-like.
Yeah.
yeah, and they're
it's
kind of
interesting.
like breaking their programming. Yeah, really good.
Yep, I like that.
Any last thoughts about casting, folks? Any last dream casting or bad casting?
You know, one piece of casting that I got to give Zack Snyder actually some credit for was casting Jackie Earle Haley as Rorschach in the Watchmen.
That is
Yeah.
good.
Yes.
Love
yes.
that.
Yeah,
Love that.
he's glorious.
That
in
almost
movie.
makes up
Sure
for
is.
Jesse Eisenberg.
He was the
Yes.
yeah, he was the standout
Almost.
in that
Yes, he
movie.
is.
Yeah.
And it's perfect because, you've got Rorschach, who's this sort of, not has-been hero, but, it's his glory years are behind him. And Jackie Earle Haley sort of came out of retirement.
yeah,
not for that
hadn't
movie,
acted but he really hadn't done much acting in a long time.
Right.
Yeah.
I do also enjoy Jeffrey Dean Morgan as the comedian.
Yeah.
You know, I think everyone in that film.
Yeah,
I mean, it's funny because I'm one of James knew a lot about that comic and the movie, and I didn't see the movie. And you're all Larry. You have got to see this. I was one of the ones that missed it and just absolutely loved that movie. Everyone in that movie I thought was great, perfectly
Even the
cast.
girl who played Just Bessick, who I normally don't like that actress, but I liked her.
Is
in
Meryl
it.
Streep?
Who is a fine actress and no, she's not in that movie.
The Watchmen is something that I wish they would remake as a miniseries because you can't make
yeah.
you can't make a 2-hour to 3-hour movie.
Right.
If you do
it.
watch the extended, there's an extended like 5-hour.
Come on.
I'm telling you, but
well,
what
then
they
make
do,
that a miniseries
but what
because
they-
I'm not going to sit there for
It
5
is a
hours.
miniseries.
But what they do is they add all the animated, the comic book
pirate
sequence,
comic book.
Oh,
yeah.
and they
Yeah.
they make it almost like you're now watching the graphic novel.
Oh, okay.
I love that version myself.
Yeah.
I would say another dream casting that I wish happened was Sean Connery back in like early 1980s when he was that age would have made a fantastic Professor Quatermass.
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
hey.
I think
Sean.
the Quatermass character, that's a character and a series of films that could be done. That could be done as almost like a HBO series today. Quatermass from 5 Million Years to Earth and The Creeping Unknown.
You ever see any of these movies?
Enemy from Space.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are great.
And I just think Connery, Brian Donlevy and Andrew Keir played him in the movie.
Brian Dunleavy is,
Yeah, Andrew.
They
Keir-
got him.
Yeah. Andrew Keir was great though, but
Andrew Keir is great.
because he's
We have the action figure.
Yeah. that scientist though, who would just like the steadfast scientist who would just it was always science first, and he was like he would just piss off the military, piss
Love
off
it.
all the bureaucrats. I just think, gosh, Sean Connery would have been great back in that time. Like back in the what's the submarine film that he did?
Oh, yeah.
Crimson Tide.
Crimson
Yeah.
During
Tide.
the Crimson Tide years, like that, those
Yeah.
years of he had done.
Those are
played
big years. Those
Quatermass.
are big Connery years.
Yeah, like The Rock and
It
all
was
like
the Hunt for Red October.
Hunt for October.
Crimson Tide was
Oh, yeah.
Denzel
Oh,
Washington.
Yeah,
yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
right.
yeah,
A lot
But
of
And
like-
Gene Hackman.
Yeah, but Connery would have been great. I mean, I still think though if they could revive the Quatermass character in a series or film today.
Well, there's great British actors who could play him now. I mean, none
That's
come
true.
to mind at the moment.
But yeah.
Patrick Stewart, maybe.
yeah, actually, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Larry?
Yeah.
Larry?
got anything?
You're on a podcast somewhere in America. Go.
Well, as we were going through this, I had mentioned some of my
Okay,
favorites.
so that means you're done?
Yeah, I guess so.
Wow, he's looking.
no,
Let's
actually,
have more radio TV,
actually, no.
radio show
You
sound
said-
effects.
You said dream casting.
Yeah.
And I just have a big list of like hated casting. Like,
Give us one of those then.
Yeah.
Well,
Really? Wow.
Russell,
You're not filling out your will.
It's a good juicy one.
well, you guys know how much I like The Matrix.
Right.
And I really like.
don't, but go,
I
fine.
really like Keanu Reeves. Yeah, I've talked about that.
All right, okay.
I
all right.
really like
Easy.
Keanu Reeves in that film, but
Yeah,
I
he's-
absolutely hated. And this is a film,
Oh,
and
no.
it's not just him. It's actually many levels here, but I really wanted to like Francis Ford Coppola's Bram
Dracula.
Stoker's
I thought you
Dracula.
could say that.
And look, here's the thing that gets me.
He's kind of the poster child for bad
Well,
casting.
and he did this not a science fiction film, but Parenthood. He plays like it's like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, that
yes,
kind
it
of
is.
guy.
He's good in certain roles.
things, but
Yeah.
in this, it's like it takes place in England. Okay,
It's like Jack Black and King Kong.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's
Exactly.
not
Yeah.
only him; it's also Winona Ryder.
Yeah.
And I'm looking. Francis Ford Coppola he's a big director, and
Right.
I'm thinking, really, you couldn't get the film made unless you had them in it.
Well, I
And
wonder how much of that was studio.
I
or
don't
him.
know, but I will bet you that's true.
Yeah.
That to get that movie made,
Yeah.
those two, Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder, were huge stars
Yes,
at the time.
yes.
Right, that's true.
That by
Yes.
attaching them,
I
it
get
got
it.
that.
And
the
got
kids
that,
love
get
them.
the
I
movie
get the
made.
kids up, but
kids love
it's just
them.
That's true.
every word that comes out of his
It just
mouth.
takes you out- it just takes you
and,
out of
and,
it.
and it's I don't want to say
Agreed.
he's bad actor because, like you said, Sean,
I'm
some
trying to
stuff
think-
he
yeah,
does
he can be
is
great,
good.
You give him 6 words and a gun.
But also,
Yeah.
Winona
Yeah.
Ryder, who's also supposed to be good. It's just I think it was miscast. I wish
Yeah,
to
I agree.
God
I agree.
he got 2 unknowns, and
Right,
and
right.
and there's so many neat look.
I would even say though that Anthony Hopkins is a little over.
No,
He's a little- he's a little over the top.
and Matt, I would agree with you. And it's like on paper, this looks
You would think it'd be
great,
good, right.
And I wonder if there's something about his Van Helsing which really bugged me too. It's the Francis Ford Coppola does some really cool things with the camera and the visuals and stuff. And
it's a very uneven movie, though.
uneven,
Yeah.
and uneven.
Right.
And so this was a film where I really wanted to like it, and just a few of those things just really pulled me out. So
Yeah.
I'm sorry I don't have a perfect cast.
No, that's a good one, though.
You know, I'd mentioned some perfect castings earlier, but this was another one that really, really bugged me.
All right. Well, talk about dream casting. First of all, I want to go back in time. And we were talking in a previous episode about other people we'd cast as Captain Kirk.
Yes, yes, I
was
remember that. Yeah.
Playing around with that in my head. And I thought, especially considering we have Leonard Nimoy as Spock,
Yep.
I was toying with this and I thought it might be interesting at least to see this pilot, James Garner.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
sure.
'Cause
Oh
he's-
my God, Matt!
Because he's
Yeah.
he's able to do a little comedy.
Yes,
And it would be a different kind of nudging to Spock.
Yes. Right.
that's an.
It'd be that
that's
support your
interesting.
local gunfighter approach.
right.
Yeah.
No, no,
that's
no.
a
And at
great
that
idea.
time, his age would have been just right.
Yeah,
But he would have
very-
been sharp, articulate. He would have been, and he
could be tough.
And he could
Yeah.
be tough. And no, Matt, I never thought. I thought you were because I think you mentioned Jack Lord or someone mentioned Jack Lord.
Oh, yeah.
but
That's
I-
more the Jeffrey Hunter
But I
Right,
think
approach.
that would have been really.
That could have been really
interesting.
interesting. And now I'm curious, have you guys, I don't know how much science fiction you guys have read, but there was a series of books that I really enjoyed by Harry Harrison. He wrote the original book for Soylent Green, Make Room, Make Room. And he did a bunch of books called The Stainless Steel Rat.
Oh, yeah, right.
And it's about this futuristic thief. It's sort of this utopian world where there really isn't any crime anymore, but he's a thief just to be kind of a rabble-rouser and shake things up. Suave, funny, iconoclast, and his name was Slippery Jim Degrees. And I always wanted to see this series made as either a set of films or a TV series. And I don't really know why they haven't done it yet because it's perfect. Every one of these books has a little different approach. It can be political satire. It can be just plain farcical fun. The character, you can't really comment, I guess, if you haven't read these books. But the guy that I would like to see, maybe as an idea for Slippery Jim Degrees, is Chris Pratt. because
Oh, okay.
there's this element of fun that
Bit of a huckster,
a bit
kind
of
of
a
a-
huckster,
yeah.
because there's a lot of bullshitting that this character does,
Right.
and I think he would be good at that. And so, if any of our listeners have read these books, chime in with your own suggestions, especially for this character, because I love it, and I wish someone would do something with this series.
Well, I haven't read it, so I guess I can't comment.
That's
I
another
guess.
great. I mean, you've got a lot of great casting ideas.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe
I
Matt,
should do this.
Yeah, maybe Matt should be a
and-
casting director.
And can I also throw in too, if we're going to make more Batman movies, we have a friend of ours who recently did our show named Jeffrey Combs.
Oh yeah.
If you're looking for the Joker,
Oh, yeah.
boom,
Yeah.
Right.
Oh
He'd be
my
great.
God.
boom, he'd be
fantastic.
Great.
He would.
Jeffrey Combs as the Joker. Good night, Mr. G. Charles.
Yes.
Got any last thoughts of any crazy
Any last
casting
requests?
off the top of your head?
No.
All right. All right. I would just like to say
Thank you.
We are so pleased that you could make it tonight, and
Yeah.
thank you for making our special show.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much. You have
yeah.
a beautiful studio.
I like to think we do.
Thank you for
Aside
your
from our kitchen.
Yes, your words of
Yeah.
casting wisdom.
We've learned a lot about, my God, your entire world.
Really?
That you inhabit.
I felt like I was keeping that pretty shrouded.
No, you let a lot loose.
Okay, got
I
it.
think you've
Okay,
had
great.
maybe one too many Diet Cokes.
I know.
and the
that is
truth.
I have definitely had too many Diet
Yeah.
Cokes.
So yeah, you had a lot of truth came out this episode.
Now, is there anything you're working on right now? Or
Well, I'm still casting the middle. We are wrapping our 8th season. We're on ABC on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. right now, and then the show runs in syndication. I think they've got this season is also available on Hulu.
I've heard of that.
We are coming back for season 9.
Oh my God!
Wow.
So that's what I'm working on now.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Great.
And do you also still do music?
No, I don't. I used to sing in a couple bands for a number of years.
I loved your band.
So I was in a 70s cover band, and then I was in like a country punk band. But no, I don't do any of it anymore. I just don't have the time or energy for it.
Right.
You getting any more tattoos though, or
This, those don't take nearly as much time or energy as doing a show, as putting on a band
So you say it
together.
would
You
just-
are really good though. You're a great showman and a really great front man.
Yeah, I used to like it. Thank you, but no, not for me. Not for me anymore.
All right.
Now, one of the interesting tattoos on your bicep, I guess, is it's C-3PO.
Yeah.
And the robot from Metropolis.
Yes.
Interesting.
Maria.
Maria.
Yeah,
They're,
right,
they're,
right.
they're paired together.
Well, I think, isn't it true that when the C-3PO was being designed, he was designed in
Yes.
part
Yes. Oh,
yes.
based on...
Yeah.
on-
Right.
In fact, if you look at the Ralph McQuarrie paintings,
Yes.
they really do
Very
look like
much.
Maria.
Yeah.
I just found an image, on what Facebook or Instagram or something, and it was C-3PO and Maria standing together, arm in arm. I thought, oh, that's great, and I did love Metropolis,
Yeah.
and I do love Star Wars, so I thought, oh, this would be a great tattoo. And
yeah?
And you said you have
That's
a
nice.
Josie and the Pussycats.
I just in the
Tattoo.
Pussycat,
And you also
a Star
have
Trek
Robbie the
tattoo?
Robot.
Robbie the Robot and the Lost in Space Robot.
I do.
They're like
That's
dancing
awesome.
or
And
something.
they're
They are
dancing.
holding hands, flying through space. Is technically what they
Holding hands, making all kinds of plans.
Yeah, that's true.
That's awesome.
So you're a robot fan.
I'm a robot fan. I am a fan of things, science fiction, fantasy, horror, and otherwise.
But do you have like any,
all the things that really attract the ladies.
You don't have to tell us.
do you have any like toy robots or anything like that?
No, I do. I am a collector, but I'm sort of a collector of different things. So I have all sorts of crazy. I don't have a lot of robots.
Oh,
But
I don't.
Gee,
Yeah. Oh, Matt and I have I think we originally bonded.
yes.
Years ago, we were in Santa Monica down at Puzzle Zoo on the
Yes,
Street
Puzzle
Promenade.
Zoo.
Just cruising the promenade as we would.
And
Looking for the ladies.
Matt and I had some mutual friends, and that's how we met. And this may have been the first or second time we were hanging out, and we both discovered that we are really bad with money and easily swayed by nonsense that we don't need. So we're in Puzzle Zoo, and they had a glow-in-the-dark Karloff Frankenstein bust for
Wait.
sale.
I think I know this one.
Yeah.
And they had it back there. It was behind the counter,
Yeah.
and we were both just talking about how great it was.
Yeah.
And we were
And
sure
you had the initiative.
we were sure that it would be too expensive to buy.
Right.
Right.
So I asked how much it was.
Yeah.
And I forget, it was like $40.
$50.
$50.
$50.
And it's a great big thing. And we were like,
Beautiful.
And glow in the dark.
and we just about lost our mind. And so then it became well, they've only got the one. So which one of us would buy it? Maybe we should just leave it here. And she said, we have two.
Oh.
And we took them right there.
Are you
That's
serious?
a magical nerd
I would have
moment.
bought that.
Oh,
I would have bought it for
absolutely. $50.
I thought you were going to say it was like $250.
This is what I'm thinking she's
Right,
going to say.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
$250.
At Puzzle
Right now,
Zoo.
nowadays it would
Yeah.
be, yeah.
And that
Right.
moment was almost like in nerd world, we were almost like legally married.
Yeah,
Like
it was
that.
true. Well, because it was a Boris Karloff Frankenstein bust.
Yeah.
It was not that sexy to the kids.
Sure.
Right.
But so mine is prominently displayed. I have
Me too.
I have a lot of Frankenstein memorabilia.
Oh, cool.
Not memorabilia. It's not from Frankenstein
collectibles.
movies, but
Just
collectible
collectibles.
stuff. I have a really great life-size plywood Frankenstein that was made for a mom and pop video store in Portland, Oregon.
Really? How did you
And-
get your hands on it?
So a friend of mine used to live in Portland. She had a friend who had managed this mom and pop video store. And then you remember that time in the early 90s when all those mom and pops get run out or
Yes.
bought up
Yeah.
by
Yes.
Blockbuster.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
this one, Blockbuster was taking over the space.
Yeah.
And the mom and pop, they had these beautiful artist-made, original, one-of-a-kind plywood stand-ups for the different sections. So they had a Frankenstein one for the horror section. Wow. And the guy who managed the place knew my friend Lisa, who was a Frankenstein fan, and he asked her if she wanted
That's
it because they were
awesome.
throwing it away. So she took it. And my friend Lisa's she's kind of a gypsy in that she moves about every year or two.
Yeah.
Every year or two, like clockwork. She moves someplace. And I first saw it probably in 1994, 1995, and coveted it in her apartment. And she's moved probably 15 times since then. Last year, she calls me and she says, I'm moving again, and I'm just too old to move this Frankenstein anymore. Can I bring it down to your house? And you can have it.
Wow.
Not only do you want it, I will drive it down from Stockton, California.
Wow.
And unpack it for you, and you can have it.
Wow.
So I have it now, and it is.
Can you take
gorgeous.
a picture and send it to us?
I'd love to see this.
That's
I will.
awesome.
I'd
So I have a
love
lot
to
of
see it.
lot of Frankenstein.
That's cool.
A lot of Frankenstein stuff.
But not as many robots.
Not so many robots. More
See-
monsters. I have a lot of Barbies.
What kind of Barbies?
I have.
Do you have the Star Trek Barbie?
I do. I have
The outer space Barbie?
I have the green. I have the green girl Barbie from the
I do too.
Comic Con.
Yes,
I've got,
that's a nice one.
that
Great
one's-
box,
I have
great box.
It's a great box. I have a
Yeah.
great story about that. When it came out, I went on eBay and bought one from someone who was going to pick one up,
Yeah.
at Comic Con and
Yeah.
then sell it.
Yeah.
right.
So I bought. So I spent some. I dropped a dime.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
bought that. And then one of the actors on the middle, this great guy named Tommy Bechtold, who plays Kenny. Kenny on our show is a character that rarely even speaks. But this poor guy had to audition for this role. He never, anyway. So he's great. He knew I love Star Trek. He had gone to Comic-Con. He got one for me.
No.
So he gives me this gift. So now I have two, which is really fantastic because I don't take things out of their box. So now
You
I
are my
can
new
take-
best
go.
friend.
Wow.
You're my new best friend.
Suddenly,
Finally.
So now I have
Larry's
two of
bestie
them.
buddies.
Now I have two of them, so I can actually, I could take one out of the
But
box.
you're not, huh?
No, what I'm actually doing is it gives me the opportunity to display more parts of that box.
I know
Kinds of parts.
I know
That's
exactly.
awesome.
I know
Well,
exactly.
you've
what
made
you're
a friend
talking
here
about.
with that
Oh my
statement.
God.
But I do
Yeah.
have a lot of Star Trek stuff. I have an Enterprise pizza cutter. I'm that guy.
We got that.
Oh, yeah,
we
yeah.
got that.
Right. We
Yeah.
will. Yes.
All right.
So now we don't have to have the contest about who has the robots and all that because that was coming.
He's
huh?
okay in your
Yeah.
eyes now.
He is.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
good.
Okay. Good. All right. Well, this has been great.
This has been fun.
Could you say that with a little more enthusiasm?
This has been great.
Wow.
Thank you so much for coming, buddy.
Yeah, man.
Yes.
Thanks
Really
a lot.
appreciate
Thanks,
it.
everybody.
Paper
And
G.
come back again.
Yeah.
I don't think that.
Like later on.
Well, maybe.
I'll leave the window open.
Okay. Oh, later tonight.
Yes.
Got it.
Time for listener shout out.
Who do we got today?
This goes out to a relatively new listener named Travis Sutton
Travis Sutton.
Travis, wait till you hear this,
from
G.
Hudson, Ohio. He works for an equipment rental company. He's a former U.S. Army and EMS provider.
Yes.
And he recently wrote us saying, fellow monsters, I just wanted to thank you, all you guys, for the awesome show you put together. I'm not really sure how I discovered the podcast, but I'm so glad that I did. I make sure my iPod's loaded with episodes of Monster Party every day.
Yeah.
You guys keep me laughing and smiling all day. I love going back over the episodes and scribbling movies or TV shows on scrap paper to check out later. Thanks again to all 4 of you for the hard work you pump into the show. I really don't know what I'd do without it now.
All right, Travis.
Travis.
We don't know what we do without fans like you.
That's right. And hopefully,
Yeah.
Travis, we have educated you and you've learned something from us.
and
are-
keep you smiling.
Why?
Yep.
Yes.
What's the Warren Beatty is handing me another piece of paper.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my
What's happening
goodness.
Are we going to correct
Topical humor.
the last shout out?
No, this is not. What this is a shout out double feature.
What
Bonus
the hell?
shout out.
Oh my gosh, a
Because
double?
on the last episode, I actually goofed. I made a flub, and one of our listeners was kind enough to correct me.
Are you serious?
I was talking about Jerry Anderson and how there was a Dire Straits music video that I thought was Walk of Life. It was actually Calling Elvis.
That's right.
And we had a
right.
listener.
We put it on Twitter.
Wrong, James.
Well, thanks to our listener Stephen Vale for bringing that up, and also for posting a nice making of video on Twitter.
Yeah, I watched it. It was pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Stephen
Yeah.
Vale.
Stephen
Yeah.
Vale, filmmaker, musician, says love spirit, film, music, comics, and his 2 cats keep him going.
Oh,
right.
cat guy. I love him already.
Stephen is a rabbi, a title
Wow.
title he earned via 10 years in school. He says, I don't practice and I don't preach. Stephen
Does he still have the clothes?
he's got a blog, veilstales.com, and it looks like he's planning a podcast of his own called The Geek Rabbi.
Perfect.
Oh, that's awesome.
Stephen, thank you for
We'll plug it.
Right.
Thank you for your support.
Stephen, as a thank you, we'd also like to give you Mark Knopfler's social security number.
No, hey, Stephen. Thank you, Stephen, for setting the record straight. And because there's one thing. Look, I want to get our facts straight. And if any listener out there says, "Hey, you know what Sean said is completely wrong,"
never wrong.
No, or any of us. I mean,
Sometimes we have a cocktail.
and look,
And
if
facts
there
can
is
get
a mistake,
blurred.
I mean, let us know. I mean, I want to know. Okay, we're not those guys. Oh, we never make mistakes. No, I mean, it happens.
course.
We're
We got
just people.
We're just
we are
human.
staying corrected.
No,
I mean,
but
our brains can only handle so much information.
And look, we love this stuff. Like you guys, set the record straight. Let us know. Send us an email.
Right to
Go on.
G. Charles Wright.
No. Go on. you know,
Amalgamated pictures.
go on Facebook or send us a
Care of
tweet
show
or
business,
something.
Hollywood, California, USA.
I also want to take a minute and congratulate some of our friends and previous guests on being nominated for the Rondo Awards, which are the
Rondo
annual
Awards.
horror community awards. Our good friend David Weiner,
David.
Previous guest and
previous
good
guest
friend.
on our Game Changers episode, he's been nominated for Best Article for Great American Werewolf Reunion for American Werewolf in London. That's in Famous Monsters issue 284.
All right.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Congratulations, David. Also want to congratulate David Delval, who was on our
All
That's
right.
Exploitation episode.
That's right.
yes,
David
yeah.
Dakota.
Right.
He's been nominated for Best Commentary for the Theater of Blood Blu-ray.
Nice.
Are you serious?
And
Nice.
nominated twice, actually, also for Best Columnist for Camp Grindhouse in Delirium magazine.
Oh my
Nice.
God!
Good.
Great job,
Great.
David.
Yeah.
Also want to congratulate another previous guest, Frank Dietz.
Frankie
Who's
Dietz.
been
All right.
nominated again for his podcast, Damn Dirty Geeks.
All right.
And also
Yeah.
for his documentary, Kong, Long Live the King.
Sweet.
Cool.
Congratulations, Frank.
Yeah, and then Monster Party for the.
But
So
That
political.
will happen
As
soon.
much
So
as-
political.
as much as we want to. And also congratulating our good friend and longtime friend of the show, Dana Gould.
Dana!
I love her. What's she doing?
She's, you know what? You should get her calendar.
She's great. My favorite Jewish comedian.
Yeah.
the stand-
and November. Ooh. With the turkey? Woo.
The Stand Against Evil pilot has been nominated for a Rondo for Best TV Presentation of
As it
2018.
should.
Nice.
If there's
so
any justice.
You can go on the Rondo website and vote for. We encourage you to vote for all of these friends of the show. And if you'd like to write in a nomination for Monster Party, I don't think we would object to that.
No, I don't think we would.
No.
Let's also
awards too.
let's remind everybody you can
I feel ugly.
find us on Facebook and YouTube at Monster Party TV, on Twitter at Monster Party HQ, Instagram also Monster Party HQ. If you're listening to us on iTunes, please take a moment and write a review. We are also available now on Google Play Music for those of you with Androids. check out our Monster Party store on eBay, which is called, you guessed it, Monster Party Store, where you can buy an official Monster Party cap.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe someday we'll have some T-shirts too.
One of these days.
Yeah.
Dream big.
I hope you like bookmarks. Wait a minute. What are books?
What?
On that note, I am Matt Weinhold.
I am Shawn Sheridan.
I'm Larry Stroth.
And I'm James Gonis.
Keep America strong.
And if you're going to do anything sci-fi or horror related, make sure it's well cast. Like this podcast.
Yeah.
With the exception of a couple people. You know who you are.
Oh.
Say that again.
Yes.
No, don't stop yourself now. You somehow think that Maria is not a masculine. She's a strong female robot. Yes.
Character. Yes, it is. But just because Mr.
Maria from the robot from Metropolis.
Yes, but Mr. Casting Man here thinks
Mr.
that
Casting Man.
Oh
Casting
boy,
Man.
Because she's tough and she's conniving. Oh, that means she's masculine.
Why does that disturb you so much? Though?
So then it's
no, because she's beautiful. She's
can be beautiful
and sexy and sinister.
But so
she's
would-
sinister. But that doesn't mean no. What she does not makes her masculine.
But so
masculine.
wouldn't
There's
that be-
nothing masculine about
but
her.
hey. Wouldn't C3O be the perfect mate for
Yes,
Maria?
this is my
No,
point.
no, because he would not feel comfortable.
He would.
Getting
It would
together.
be.
No,
He needs somebody.
He's an
He'd be the one who'd be.
He's an
he'd be-
asexual robot.
He would be. Oh, and Maria isn't.
No, she's
Yeah.
not. She's clearly female. Clearly.
And also,
Wow,
clearly
to get
conniving.
to climb inside your head and just look around for a while.
We'll save that for another show. don't make a silly comment like that and think, oh, I'm just gonna walk through this.
Don't
one.
make God forbid someone makes silly comments on this
I
show.
just realized
if you make a silly
that I'm
comment, what, for the
trapped.
sake
No, that I'm trapped.
at Maria the robot's expense, is that what it is?
Oh my God!
Don't hurt her
So I
Whatever
take-
you do, don't bring
so I
up
take it-
fast zombies.
I take it.
You like him 'cause
No, come on. So
He'll lose
you're a
his
big
mind.
fan. You're a big fan,
Right.
Of the
I don't
Maria
know if you-
robot.
I
think
Or are you one of these guys that go, oh, it's a cute image. It's a neat image. I'm going to tattoo that on my arm. Or do you like Metropolis? That's cool. It's a great film and it's a great robot.
What, could we get a squeegee to get some of the?
I'm trying. I need to set up my.
Could we get a squeegee to get some of the spit off of G's face after that tirade?
That's good.
Oh my God! Wow.
We haven't started yet.
Would you like to? It's not too late to leave.
I had a feeling from his niece story.
Yeah. Oh, don't get him going on fast nieces either.
I just realized that he's trapped back there.
Yeah. Now I realize why I'm sitting here.
Yeah. Yeah. No. A gate. Wow. Yeah. The topic of this episode is defend your tattoos.
There's so much over
But
I haven't seen.
tattoos. So what is it? You're like you. Did you feel like they like identified?
He's still going. Still going. Still won't put it to bed.
I mean, it's because you got Plastic Man,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
got Spider Man. So you're just like you like comics, you like superheroes, and then
And then you might as well just like shit on the Bible by having Maria and C3PO. They seem very happy to me.
well, I mean, yeah, but
I think of them really more as brother and sister
You do.
than as lovers.
Well, that pairing reminds me of my grandmother and her second husband. That was totally the situation.
Sure.
Like you might as well put an apron on C3PO and have him
honestly not
being yelled at for not putting the milk in the right place.
It's not too different from your own life.
Oh, don't get me started. That we'll need 6 hours for that one. Yeah. But we're working through it. We're working through it. Peaks and valleys, and then there's the cosplay, which, will add another 10 minutes to the marriage.
Where you dress up as
Whatever she tells me to. I'm not getting in trouble again.
Yeah.
he's not joking. That's the best part.
again.
If things get too uncomfortable at any point, I just use these scissors to kill myself. Is that why they're here? Is that right?
I think we've already passed that point.
That's the guest killing scissors. Yes. Yeah, we always put them there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can kill yourself however you want with them.
You got your paper scissors, your fabric scissors.
Sure.
and your
Lefties.
Suicide scissors. Lefties.
Nah, you're gonna be
Lefties is a more fun suicide.
I get it.
Are you left-handed?
No, I'm right-handed.
Perfect.
Do you have a time limit? Are you good for time?
Yeah. How much time do you usually spend doing this?
6 hours.
No, it's like an hour and a
A
half.
couple hours.
No.
Yeah, we should try. to
Sean likes to go these marathons. I think
like
you know,
to.
however you feel,
have the
you know,
freedom.
it's like average.
not have to-
Average is like an
Hour and a
90
half
minutes.
or-
That's like an
Hour and a half,
average.
2 hours.
Like that.
And
that's good.
Okay.
Look, I mean, you're going to be a great guest, but no, I'm sure you're going to be great. You're going to be great, but if
Trust
you're
me,
a bad
it's
guest,
not- yeah.
we try to,
Wrap it up.
like if you start to go into like,
He's saying this now because in 30 minutes you're going to wrap me up, aren't you?
no.
Look, we got a lot of spots that we got to put in this.
I don't want to worry you, but Carrie just left.
Oh,
Does she come back?
no. No.
No, she doesn't.
She went out to buy ointment.
She head over to the bar at the Garland.
She's at residuals right now
But we love her.
in her usual booth,
We love her. She's great.
holding court.
Okay, so what he does is he's going to introduce the show. We introduce
take
our
pictures during the thing too.
Well, he's going to introduce the show. We introduce ourselves. We say what the topic is. Then we say, and our guest is, and then we introduce you. Okay. I take it you're going to be introducing
Yes.
him and saying what he does and that.
Sure.
All right.
Fine.
Well, make it big. Make it.
Shut up.
Do you want me to put my hand on your knee?
Why
have
isn't
some
there
energy.
now?
I'm close enough to do it. I just realized that.
Choose your moment.
That might be why you
Yeah.
seated me here.
Yeah. Let's.
And I'm also positioned just slightly closer to you than I am to
Yeah.
him.
Not an accident.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
We're gonna play a little game later on in the episode called "Find the Crown." And then
King me.
It will co-rule.
So you have a list? Did you bring a list?
Desperately trying to change the subject.
No.
Oh, let's talk about your list.
Oh my God! How many did you have?
Lots.
All right.
Don't look.
Wait. How many? How many were
Don't
we?
worry about it.
Possible.
What do you mean?
Wing it.
Wing it.
Wing it. Wing it.
Wing it.
That's like giving terrible advice to an actor. Just go to audition and wing it. Yeah. Hey.
No, we're giving good advice to a podcast host. Hopefully. Jesus.
Some people like to be prepared.
Yeah.
No, I
Prepare
am-
to improvise.
No, I am prepared. But you're a big
yeah.
casting guy, so
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna get to it then. How about that?
Yeah, let's get to it.
I'm sorry.
Waste a little more time
No.
on establishing that we got a casting guy for the casting show.
Right.
Unbelievable. All right, here we go.
Do you have questions?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, kind of.
I'm going to lose my mind if we don't start this show. I'm going to
Okay.
flip the fuck out.
Is this good?
A little bit more that way.
Okay, now we're adjusting the banner that hides my kitchen.
Okay.
The famous kitchen cover.
Kitchen obstruction.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Now,